Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Cattlemen's Congress, Oklahoma City. We are excited to get started. Before we make our official introductions, if I could please have you all rise for our national anthem. Well, again, good morning and welcome to the Cattlemen's Congress here in Oklahoma City. We are excited to get started this morning with your regional Red Angus Junior Show in Ring 1. Over in Ring 2, we're going to get started with your Texas Longhorn Open Show. Well, currently entering Ring 1, we have May heifer calves in your Junior Red Angus show. We'd like to welcome our judge today, Mr. Blake Nelson, Platte City, Missouri. And currently entering Ring 2, we have your first class in our Texas Longhorn Open Show. This will be Class 3 females born May through June. We are excited to welcome your Longhorn judge this morning, Mr. Victor Guerra of Lynn, Texas.
Well, good morning. It's certainly a pleasure to be here and getting the second annual Cattlemen's Congress fired off with the tremendous Red Angus show. Just getting going here, and it's already quality's good, and I know it's going to be a lot of fun working with the kids and the cattle today. As we get started in these mays, I mean, these two up here at the top of the class, you know, they're plenty big relative to their age, but with that, they're pretty darn good. Young lady's heifer leads off. I think just the edge she has for me today is just maybe reading a little more feature in her in terms of her front end and how she's maybe going to hold together a little better. I really like this heifer on her profile. I like that extra extension she has up front. I particularly like her better in the angle to her shoulder and knee on those front two. And one that flexes and reaches pretty good. Sure has some width as you get around behind her. In terms of her rib cage, she's still just a little greener, and she should be. She's just a May, and I can appreciate that. Just a nice one there. To me, is really long and pliable in the way she goes. Young lady's heifer we have in second coming around the corner now. You've got to appreciate just the overall stoutness, body volume she has, and weight per day of age is pretty extreme, I would think. One that's just really big in her heart and carries it all the way through. You like the width she has. She's one that with that from the point of her shoulder back through her pins levels up pretty darn good. You know, if you're going to change her, she's just a little more forward there in her knee up front. I'd sure like to just tone her back in terms of condition to her age. We sure don't want to burn her up too quick, but that one has tons of cow to her, and I like that with her. Young lady's heifer coming in third. I think this one reads to me with a lot of promise. I think the parts are there. It's just to see how time helps her and comes together because she has the look and profile. I think structurally she sure has the soundness. This heifer has some genuine pin width to her. Right now, maybe just not that depth through her heart and her flank yet, but that's going to come with some time, hopefully, and as a heavy bred, she could sure knock their eyes out and get to the top of the class. The next heifer in the lineup, another one that I like in terms of her look, she's one that's really extended through that front end, pretty sound in her feet and legs. Her extra flexibility is what got her to that hole for me and the way she travels. Another one there that's just a little green yet through that center body, but again, the parts and pieces and functionality is there that's necessary for her to mature out and come together. Young lady's light red heifer coming out next. On the stand, I like this one awfully well. I think she's got a cool look from the side. She has some genuine width and bone to her. She's one that prints you a nice picture on the profile, just a little straighter as you study her up through her knee. The way she handles that hind wheel, we'd like to flex her better in her joints. Young man's heifer coming around the corner now. I think one that's super practical in her kind. She's big enough bodied. She's very flexible in her structure. I like those pieces and parts. One for me just reads a notch plainer as you study her up through her chest and her neck and front end. Not quite as neat back through that tail head. We'd like to tidy her up in those spots. Young lady's light red heifer coming out next. I think this is another heifer that has a lot of potential. She just drew up. She's the greenest one in this bunch out here today. She's one that's really upheaded and neat up through that front end and has a nice look. This is a heifer that has some heaviness of bone to her, but another one maybe just pushed a little forward in that knee, a little more jacked up in her tail head. You'd like to stouten her up a notch as you study her through her base.
Well, congratulations, and a nice way to start out our Junior Red Angus show. First place will go to back number 40494, L1 GMS F225 Cherry Star J70, exhibited by Lauren Goki of State Center, Iowa. Second place will go to back number 40493, MC Pride, exhibited by Madeline McLean of Thomas, Oklahoma. Third place will go to back number 40495, exhibited by Danica Lowry of El Dorado Springs, Missouri. Fourth place in that class will go to back number 40492, Veronica Lentz, Creston, Iowa. Fifth place goes to back number 40486, exhibited by Macy Woodward of Farmington, Arkansas. Sixth place in that class will go to back number 40491, Grady Reidenauer of Covington, Texas. And seventh place goes to back number 40496.
Well, good morning over here in our Longhorn Arena. I'm certainly excited to be here today. COVID got me back in July on my last Longhorn opportunity, so I'm certainly excited. The airlines tried to get me this go around, but thankfully I made it. Unfortunately, my bags didn't, so I appreciate you all working with me on that. But certainly excited to be here, and if this first class is any indication of what we're going to see today, I'm very excited because I think in this first class from end to end, there's a lot of quality in these females, and granted there's a lot of variation, there's a lot of good in each and every one of them. The heifer that I'm going to lead off today, just for me, just when it comes down to the basics, I certainly appreciate this female's slicked off appearance. She's certainly doing her job when it comes to getting filled up this morning, which could be a challenge in weather like this. But when this one gets parked, I like her from end to end. She's wide-based, good over her top. Love the expression of rib. You get her off out on the move. Certainly like the way she's comfortable in that track and in her track, and just a very good functional female there for that young lady. Congratulations to you. Heifer in second, another very high-powered heifer right here, just from end to end. Anywhere you analyze this heifer, I like the base, I like the width, I like the performance, a lot of eye appeal, a little extra flash in this heifer and horn growth in this one. Like the stoutness of bone. If anything, she probably excels our class winner in that department in terms of substance of bone, but another nice female there. Heifer in third, another high-performing female, very eye-appealing in terms of her hide and just her makeup. Once that one gets parked, there's a lot of good to that female there as well. Like the length of body, length of spine. Just would like to strengthen her up just a bit in that hip to move her up in this class, but another very good functional brood cow prospect there. Young man's got the youngest heifer in the class and one that has a tremendous amount of future. Really like the eye appeal that this female has, particularly when this young man gets her on the move. Very long spine, very long body, balances up really well. Probably would just like to stouten her up just a little bit in terms of her bone feature and maybe drop her a little bit in that flank. But young man, I think as you continue to feed this heifer and develop this heifer, you got a tremendous prospect there that should soften up there for you in the belly. Really nice one there that caught my eye early on. Another good female here. I think here in this last trio, we kind of developed a trend of just some longer made cattle that maybe just didn't have the depth of body, but yet still here we have a female that's very correct in terms of her top. I do appreciate the length throughout. Would just like to give her just a little more in that lower third. And again, that could come with time. But a beautiful female there in great fresh condition as well. Same here, another good long-spined female there. Young man's done a good job of grooming this heifer, giving her just a little extra shot of depth. And with time, young man, I think that's going to come. I appreciate the moderation of that heifer as well. I think you've got a good functional brood cow prospect there in the making. And then the heifer here that rounds out the class. Really a long spine one, much like the heifer 2 spots ahead of her. Good, sound, functional cattle all the way throughout. Just had to sort them through personal preference. Young lady, good job. Keep working hard with that heifer. Good first class. The Longhorns excited about the day. Thank you.
Well, for those of you joining us ringside, we'd like to introduce you our junior Red Angus judge, Mr. Blake Nelson of Platte City, Missouri. Blake lives with his wife, Ruth, and his 2 kids, Paisley and Brigham, in Missouri. He is the executive vice president of the American Maine-Anjou Association. Previously, he was the director of farm operations at Connors State College for 15 years. He has been honored to judge at all of the major shows in North America. For those of you joining us ringside, please put your hands together and welcome our judge today, Mr. Blake Nelson. Well, we have the results out of your first class here in our Texas Longhorn Open Show. First place went to 10,005, exhibited by Sheridan Van Blarcom. Second place go to back number 10,007, exhibited by Danley Cattle Company Incorporated. Third place go to back number 10,008, exhibited by Lock and Payne Partnership. Fourth place went to back number 10,001, exhibited by the Cattle Rack Ranch. Fifth place went to back number 10,003, exhibited by Walker Hance. Sixth place, back number 10,002, exhibited by Denise and Jody. And seventh place in that class will go to back number 10,006, Walker Hance. For those of you sitting ringside watching our Junior Red Angus show, we are going to take a brief pause in the show. We're just waiting for our barn mic to work, and as soon as that happens, we'll get started back up with your Junior Red Angus show. Well, we are gearing back up over here in Ring 1, welcoming in now Class 2A, April Heifer calves.
Over here on the Longhorn side, really a neat set here in our second class of females, and again, a lot of variation in terms of type and kind, and I think that's certainly an advantage to this breed. The heifer that's going to win the class is just one that caught my eye as soon as she walked in. Young lady did a great job presenting this heifer today to me, and as she gets about the ring, I sure like the confidence that she has in her stride and the way that one balances up, especially in the profile. I think she balances enough power with all that femininity that she has, and certainly gives a striking look. Maybe not quite as much eye appeal as some of the others in class in terms of her hide and hair color, but I think one that just in terms of just doability and good cow look, there's one that's very striking in her own right. Congratulations to you, young lady. Then the challenge comes here in second and third. Heifer in second, when she walked in, really admire all the natural product that this heifer has. A lot of natural muscling when you get over her top and you get behind her, a lot of base width, like the substance of bone that this heifer has, very sound in terms of her feature. With that added power and rib shape, she wants to get just a tick shorter necked in her front third, and in terms of balance, she's getting to the point now, and I don't think it's tipped the balance of this heifer, but you just want to watch her moving forward on that brisket, make sure it doesn't get lower than the lowest point of that belly. I'd like to trim her up just a little bit in that, but you talk about just a good, sheer, good enough cow, brood cow prospect. That's her right there. I really admire the power and eye appeal that heifer has. Young man's doing a great job hanging in there this morning. I know some of these cattle are going to be a little fired up given the temperature and maybe coming off the rack. Got a beautiful, probably the most eye-appealing heifer in terms of hide color, and just a good-looking female. Whenever the young man did get her parked, she gave me a great look. Probably one of the longest-bodied heifers in the class, if not the longest-bodied heifer in the class. With that, she's coming to us just a little bit leaner today, so probably gave up some natural width and dimension, in particular in her rib shape and up top there. But young man, great female there. Really love the attractiveness of that female there in third. Keep up the good work, hang in there, and thank you for your help, young man, on that one. Then we get down here in our bottom pair. Here's another really good, just kind of what you see, what you get kind of female. Balances up nicely. Just a heifer that I'd like to change. She's got a little extra set in that hock. Maybe we'd like to take a little bit there, and just got a little bit weaker in terms of her loin and her top. But other than that, that's just a good stock right there. Love the balance, love the femininity. And young lady, you got her in great condition. Keep up the good work with that heifer. Then the young man here that's going to round out the class, probably one of the most eye-appealing in terms of hide, and really a good feminine female, just gives up a lot of pounds in performance. As this heifer continues to fill out and progress and fills out in that rear third, I think she could possibly move up in the class. But just a good feminine, eye-appealing heifer here to round out the class. Great class of Longhorn females. Congratulations to you exhibitors.
Well, congratulations in Class 4, females born March through April in our Texas Longhorn Open Show. First place will go to back number 10,010, exhibited by Tamarin Thomas Bush. Second place goes back number 10,012, exhibited by Chris and Cindy Trenzano. Third place goes to back number 10,013, exhibited by Lock and Payne Partnership. Fourth place goes to back number 10,014, exhibited by Danley Cattle Incorporated. And fifth place goes to back number 10,011, exhibited by Hardcastle Land and Cattle, LLC. We are now ready to welcome in Class 5, females born January through February.
Well, as we get over here in the Junior Red Angus ring, a really elite pair of heifers here at the top end. I think it'll be fun to see how things shake out when it's all said and done. But today, I think the heifer directly in front of me has the edge. Just in terms of just some pieces about her profile and ring presence, I prefer a little bit. I think she is maybe just a little more extended up through that neck, just maybe a nickel tighter there in the way she blends the top of her shoulder into her rib cage. And I do like her a little better back through her tail head and from hooks to pins. You love the silhouette in this one. I mean, for her age, she's plenty cowy looking, plenty mature looking in terms of her rib. Sure want to just keep an eye on that and not let her get overcooked too soon. But I think that one's awfully good and sure hits them when she goes. Just puts together a lot of good pieces. Young man's darker red heifer there. Parts about her I like is the fact that I think she is maybe just a little greener in terms of her condition. That heifer is genuinely bold through her center rib and has some dimension and bone to her. When she settles down and he gets to get a stick on her, you can really like the look she presents you. Just wanting to kind of be a knothead a little bit, not let her tail head relax and set in her quite as neat. She does maybe just have a tickle more chest and open up just ever so slightly there at the top of her shoulder. But a good heifer there. I think condition and time is definitely going to do her some good. Young lady's heifer in third, a little more extreme in terms of just body volume. Huge rib cage and center body to her. This heifer has a lot of weight per day of age and length and width to her. And, you know, when she gets her stopped, one that still has some parts and pieces that come together quite nicely. She is one that I guess is flexible enough on her feet and legs. I'd like to give her a shot more bone to match up with her body. I would like to trim her up just a little bit through her chest and navel. Young lady's dark red heifer coming around the corner now. Another one you can appreciate for having some length and extension and one that has some look through that front third. However, she doesn't have quite that rib cage to run with these top three today. One that maybe could be set back just a little more in her knee and in her shoulder. Young lady's light red heifer coming around the corner now. I think this is a good heifer too, just needs some time. You study her though, I think this one flexes okay. She has a solid enough balance look from the side. Just, green yet. Just doesn't have that overall mass to compete with the top group. But I think that's a good little heifer there. Got a nice showman there on the halter. Man's heifer coming out next. Another one you can appreciate for having some symmetry and extension. She's really level on her top line. She's extended through that front third. Just a little more restricted through her rib cage for me and a little tighter in the way she comes to the ground. Young lady's dark red heifer coming around the corner now. I appreciate the natural thickness and width she has. This is a bold-bodied one that has some width all the way through. Just for me, gets a notch around her as we steady her through her shoulder and back through her hip. Not quite as elegant in the way she blends that front third of her body and when you'd free her up a scotch in terms of her joints. The light red heifer that wraps up the class, a really clean-fronted little female here that sure has some heaviness of skeleton, just tighter in the way she's built in terms of her body and her structure, and ran up and against a really tough class.
Well, congratulations in Class 2A, April heifer calves over here in your Junior Red Angus ring. First place and congratulations to back number 4504, MHG Barcelona 107J, exhibited by Morley Griffith, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Second place, we'll go to CWC Miss Sierra 3J, exhibited by Brett Pembroke, Fairview, Oklahoma. Third place, we'll go to back number 40,499, exhibited by Dixie Snodgrass of Glenrose, Texas. Fourth place will go to Legacy Murphy Livestock. Fifth place in that class goes to Journey Shankles of Marietta, Oklahoma. Sixth place will go to back number 40,720, exhibited by Stetson Hendren of Stillwater, Oklahoma. Seventh place will go to Belle Whately of Millsap, Texas. Eighth place in that class, exhibited by Alyssa Worthington of Frederick, Oklahoma. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. We'll now bring in Class 2B, April heifer calves.
Well, as we get in this class 3 of the Junior Red Angus show, really nice group of heifers here. The heifer that comes out and wins the class, I think just a little more commanding in her presence, just really robust in her build. She's one that's big-centered, she's thick-ended, still has a good enough look from the side, and has enough femininity about her head and neck. Yeah, she's got to take a shoulder, but she's got the mass to go along with that. And even with that being said, I think still sure stays sound enough on her feet and legs. I'd be the first to tell you, for me, I'd tone her back and that shoulder and tail head just a scotch. Young lady's heifer in second, man, she is killer on the profile. You get this look of her, you're really excited about her feminine head, the top side of her neck, the way she comes into her top line, very level, one that's really symmetrical in terms of the way she's put together. You know, you study her, and there's enough width, I think, for this age. You watch her get out in the go, and she's one that I think, you know, takes a stride, maybe doesn't just flex out of her hip as good as she could, but on the stand, man, that one really knocks your eyes out. Young lady's dark red heifer we have here in third. Really like this heifer from her shoulder back. I think she's genuine in her body cavity. She's really flexible and sound in her joints and big-footed. Love all those parts about her. This one, you know, just has a tick more crest over her neck, not quite as refined through that front shoulder and neck there, but one from there back. I love the mass, the cow power in that one. A lot of good to that bob-tailed heifer. Young man's heifer coming out next, one you can appreciate on the stand. I think she presents you a really good silhouette and look. She's one as she gets out and goes, though, that's where she maybe has some holes. She wants to maybe get a little more forward through that front end. I'll get a little higher in her loin and just roll a little bit in the way she moves out. I'd like to see her move out just a little more squarely and truly on those back, too. Young lady's bigger heifer we have coming out next, one that maybe could have moved up a notch or two. I think this one in time, if she'll just, you know, come together a little better, she could go, because she is one that's super long-sided, one enough on her feet and legs, but I would like to see a little more drop right there and open her up through that forerib and her heart and just see a little more center mass for me to get excited about her today. The young man's heifer coming around the corner now, another heifer you can appreciate for having some body volume and thickness. Just one for me that's just a nickel coarser in terms of her neck, her joints, and her tailhead. We'd like to smooth her up in all those parts, see her flex better in terms of her pastern and her hind wheel. Young man's heifer coming out next. This heifer is on the stand. You can like her. She has a pretty decent silhouette. She's a big-boned heifer that's highly fit. She is a heifer, though. She's got to flex better off her joints to get out and go and reach if we're going to be competitive in a tough group like this. Just a little straight in the way she comes to the ground. You can see that on those back, too. She just kind of swings them, never really wants to flex and reach. I do commend the young man on the mullet he's rocking today. That took a lot of time and effort. Good job, buddy. Way to stay committed to growing that one out. The next heifer coming around the corner now, another heifer I can appreciate for her growth and performance. She's one that's long-sided and flexible in her structure. Just shallows up a little bit through that rear rib and flank. One that's maybe just a little rougher in her overall build. The heifer that wraps up the class, a heifer I can appreciate for her being a bold-sprung heifer that has some dimension to her for me. Gets a little shorter-sided, a little heavier up through that front end. Not a bad heifer. Just like to see her maybe just lengthened out, see her stride out a little more easily when she gets out on the move.
Well, congratulations in Class 2B, April Heifer Calves. In your Junior Red Angus ring, first place will go to Olivia Naylor of Connorsville, Indiana. Second place goes to Camden Walter, Elk City, Oklahoma. Third place, exhibited by Kinley Rathman of Slayton, Texas. Fourth place goes to Hunter Jones of Mountainville, Missouri. Fifth place went to Madeline McLean of Thomas, Oklahoma. Sixth place, Casey Holton of Cisco, Texas. Seventh place went to Chisholm Summers of Collinsville, Oklahoma. Eighth place in that class, exhibited by Chain Ranch of Canton, Oklahoma. And ninth place to Balwady of Millsap, Texas. Now in ring one, we're bringing in Class 3A, March Heifer Calves.
Over here on our Longhorn side, we had the biggest class of the day, and in this particular class, it's loaded with good showmen. So I got a great look at a lot of these cattle, and these showmen are certainly getting the best out of their livestock today. So for me, it created more of a challenge, which I certainly enjoy, and certainly showed off the high quality aspects of these cattle. The heifer I decided to land on here on the end, I think excelled the class, particularly on the move. I like the way how confident this heifer is when she goes out and takes that stride, like her foot size, substance of bone on this heifer, and I think that's where she excelled, in particular the heifer in second. I found both these heifers here at the top to be high quality heifers. When the young man gets this one set up, you really appreciate the length of body that this heifer has, and with that length of body and extra shot of femininity compared to the heifer in second, I certainly appreciate all the rib shape that this heifer has. Young man's done a good job of getting her put together today. I guess if I'm going to pick on this one, I'd like to dial her down just a notch in her tail head, and I guess there's I guess I wonder if some of that happens to be just some of that hair up there. But young man, you did a good job getting this heifer presented today. She's fresh in terms of her look and her condition, and just a good brood cow prospect right there to start off in first. Maybe not the eye appeal that we have in the heifer in second in terms of her hide. I really appreciate this, and young lady, you in particular. You were in command the entire time and got the most out of this heifer. I really appreciate that about you. I know it's not a showmanship contest, but it helps me appreciate all the qualities of your heifer, and you did a great job of getting this heifer presented. I grant that this heifer's got plenty more horn development than the heifer in first, and maybe just a notch more eye appealing in terms of her hide. Just comes with a little extra frame and maybe not the substance of bone that the heifer had in first, but just a high quality female. I don't want to take anything away from this female. I would like to just give her a shot more extension there in the neck, but as I mentioned before, high quality pair of heifers, and certainly a good one there in second. Heifer in third is our highest performing heifer in the class in terms of frame, and one that just kept moving her way up in her class just for her depth of body and capacity from the side. A heifer that I would like to lengthen out both in her neck and maybe give her just another rib in terms of length, but just a real flashy, eye-appealing, striking kind of a heifer that's doing good in terms of horn growth. Nice job, young lady, for you. Then we run into some females here that I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of type and kind. That's where it took some time for me to sort out. This heifer sorted herself from the pack with just an extra shot, depth of body, just one that I'd like to power up a little bit to move her up in the front. But young lady, you're doing a good job in terms of feeding this heifer, and I certainly like the extension that she has in the front. Keep feeding that one. I think she'll certainly rival the heifers above her. Lots of eye appeal in terms of the hide on that heifer. Young man walked in. This heifer hit me hard at first whenever she came in. A young man's got her in great condition, got a little extra shine on her, a little extra oil today, slicked off hide, and I certainly appreciate that about her. Just one that I'd like to balance her up a little bit, maybe loosen her up just a little bit in her flank, give her a shot more bone to compete with the heifers above her, but no doubt one that has a tremendous future in terms of breeding stock. Young man's doing a great job with that heifer. Keep up the good work. Young lady's heifer, one that's extremely long-sided from the side. Love the silhouette that heifer has. Another one that's extremely fresh in terms of a front third. A lot of good in that female. With all that length of body, just gets a shot more tubular for me from the side, and one that I would like to just power up just a notch in her stifle. But that's just a good, fresh, conditioned heifer right there that the young lady's doing a good job with. Here's another good practical female right here, one that's long-bodied, a female that comes to us much like the heifer in third, just a shot more frame in some of these females, and she's got one that's got a shot more frame. When we go to breeding on one, maybe dial that down a notch in terms of her frame and just give her just a shot more bone in comparison to the heifers above her, but just a good practical livestock right there. Young lady's heifer coming next, much similar in terms of the type and kind at the heifer above us, maybe just not as much natural product as in this heifer in terms of base width and muscling. I'd like to just give her a little bit more flank, but I tell you what, as this heifer develops and as she goes on to be a bred, I think she'll loosen up in that flank and improve as she moves forward, so don't give up on that one. Young man's doing a great job here with the black and white-hided heifer. Just another one that is nice in terms of her design, long-bodied. I would just like to give her just a little more stifle when you get behind behind her and maybe just make her a notch more comfortable on the move. Then the young lady's heifer here that's going to round out the class, another good, moderate, functional heifer with a lot of product to her. When you get behind her and analyze her from any angle, just one I'd like to maybe just gives up some performance in terms of frame and length of body and just overall product. But nonetheless, good livestock all the way throughout. Certainly some females that these young individuals are going to be able to utilize for many years to come because they're sound, they're functional, good cattle. Congratulations to y'all.
Well, congratulations. In ring 2, we have the results of Class 5 Texas Longhorns. First place will go to back number 10,019, exhibited by Lock and Payne Partnership. Second place goes to back number 10,023, exhibited by Danley Cattle Incorporated. Fourth place in that class will go to back number 10,024, exhibited by Walker Hance. Fifth place goes to back number 10,021, exhibited by Denise and Jody Sepulvedo. Sixth place in that class goes to back number 10,015, exhibited by T-Rex Longhorns. Seventh place, exhibited by 10,025, Tessa Trenzano. Eighth place goes to back number 10,022, Scotty and Alyssa O'Brien. Ninth place, we go to back number 10,017, exhibited by Danley Cattle Incorporated. And 10th place goes to back number 10,016, exhibited by Robertson Cattle Company. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. Now I'm going to bring in all of your first and seconds. We'll be selecting your champion and reserve champion junior Longhorn female. For those of you sitting in the stands, we do have a lost phone in the show office for Norman West. If there's a Norman West in the stands, please make your way to the show office.
Wow, what a class of Red Angus heifer cows. Tremendous quality. I mean, you look through that lineup, and we go all the way down, and I tell the kids on this end, feel good about your cattle. Time can change because y'all have some really good heifers. I promise you, I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe those things have a lot of potential. We've just got some up here that's a little further along in the game, but I think, again, keep your heads up because this is that kind of class where they're just deep, deep, deep. There's some unique ones maybe here at the top end. For me, the young lady's heifer that wins the class, she wins it pretty quick for me. I think that one gets out here and just puts together function in terms of her structure, the right kind of rib cage, plenty of balance as you veer from the side. She's smooth as she goes. Got a nickel of chest in her you trim up. But past that, just look at the top side of her shoulder, her neck, the way she comes into her body cavity, back through her hip. I think that one's awfully, awfully good. and one that hits me pretty good. Young lady's heifer in second. I think a lot like her in terms of just her length, her smoothness. She's one that's pretty flexible as she goes. I would like to freshen her up a little bit just in terms of her presence out here. If I'm going to make her rival that class winner, she maybe doesn't hold together quite as good right in there behind her shoulder, but I think that's sure a nice heifer there, and I like that extra extension she has. Young lady's heifer in third. Man, this one's a unique one. She's one that's as wide-based, as genuine in her spring of rib and her thickness as any, and with that still flexes and reaches fine on the move. She's one maybe doesn't have that extension we find in those top two cattle, but I think she's awfully nice and another one that needs to get up here. Young man's heifer in fourth does an awesome job on the halter and on the stand. I really, really like this heifer. She can get up here to the top because she presents you the right kind of look. With that, she has a good rib cage and good thickness to her, but when she gets out and goes, you can see she wants to open up and roll in that shoulder up front. I'd like to see her flex and reach and go just a little easier there, but I like that heifer. Young lady's heifer coming out next, another one that has pieces about her you really like. She's as pretty-headed and feminine-fronted as anything in the class. I like the fact she combines that with some real rib cage depth and spring to her. She does want to maybe just drop her pins and roll that hip when she gets out and goes. I'd like to see her track just a little more square. She wants to roll that back left in, kind of turn in underneath herself there. And I don't like to be picky on one. It's just in a tough class, that's what kind of sorts them for me. This red heifer here is as pretty profiling as any in the class. If you look at one that's just smooth-made, level in her lines, clean-fronted, one that's sound and impeccably built in her structure, love all those traits about her. She just needs to have a little more oomph, a little more width, a little more mass to compete with this top group because you step in behind her. She does want to flatten up a little bit. But that one there, I think, is built awesome. She's built for the long haul. Hopefully she'll mature in just a little more dimension to her. If she does that, she could be lights out. Young lady's heifer coming out next, another one you can appreciate for getting up in here, for having some flexibility, one that has some shape through her rib cage and dimension. Just a little rougher as you study her down through her shoulder and chest, not quite as neat there in terms of her tail head. Young lady's heifer coming out next, another one you can appreciate in terms of having some balance from the side and having some body volume to her. Just for me, a little straighter up through that front end, not quite as freewheeling when we get her out on the stride. We'd like to see her go out a little smoother. Young lady's heifer coming out the corner now. Another one I think has worlds of presence and look to her in terms of femininity. She's one that to me has some pieces and parts because the front has some width, a little more restricted in terms of her rib cage. I'd like to just see her deeper, open her up all the way through there, and see her a shot bigger footed and better in her pasture. Young man's heifer around the corner now, another one that to me has some length of side. This is a big bone kind of a heifer, just a little coarse in terms of her hock, not quite as smooth up through that front end. One you'd like to see track a little truer on those back two. That wraps up it's another one I appreciate for her body volume. Just one that you'd like to see track out with more flexibility. She's a little tentative in the those on those back.
My neighbor over there, Mr. Nelson, beat me to the punch, but good job there, Mr. Nelson. We get over here in our Longhorn show. We got our first drive of females, and if you're a Longhorn enthusiast, my hat's off to you because what a start we've had over here in our Longhorn show. I think as I sit back and as we work through some challenging classes and sit back and analyze the 6 females that we have out of those respective classes, I'm certainly proud of the lineup, and hopefully we can see a trend in terms of what we're looking for. We start out with our class winners. We started off with the first class of heifers, and my old man always told us growing up, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And this female really walked out and hit me pretty hard there in the first class, and eventually won the class. Just like this one from a nuts and bolts kind of a way. You study this heifer, she's very practical and very correct in terms of her structure, and even from the side, you can appreciate the base width that this heifer has over her top. I think the young lady's doing an exceptional job of feeding this heifer, did a great job of filling her up today, and with all that natural muscling and fill, she still has a pretty extended front third to that heifer that I think has a really bright future, and one that, as I analyze from every angle, I certainly appreciate. If we're going to compare her to some of the lineups, she may be a little tighter made in terms of her flank, and maybe not have the substance of bone of others in this lineup, but just getting critical on a real good one there, and showing you or or relaying to you what I'm seeing. Another real striking one that came out in class, and she was in a bigger class, so she had to excel some competition, and she certainly did that. I was visiting with this young lady, and I called her unique, and that's what I find in this female. Obviously, she enjoys having that navel, so it gives her the impression, or you can have the impression that she gets a little deeper sided, but the more I analyze that heifer, she is a little looser made in terms of her middle, and when the young lady gets her set up on the profile, I think she has as much quality as any in this class. Like the development of this heifer as well, just a really, really nice heifer, and we've got a shot more bone in that heifer in relation to the heifers on either side of her, I believe. Just a nice balanced female there in second. As I mentioned in class, maybe not the eye appeal in terms of height of the heifer in front of her, but still a lot of good and uniqueness in that female right there. Then the young man coming out of the biggest class of this drive, one that I certainly appreciated for her length from end to end. I tell you what, you analyze that heifer from the point of her shoulder to the tip of her nose, and she's as long as any in that front third. Lots of femininity in this female. Really like the rear leg, and as this heifer gets out and moves about the ring, good size foot on this female. Just one that, with all that length, maybe doesn't have the depth of flank as some others in this lineup, but I'm not going to take that away from that heifer. I think that's a really, really good heifer. And as we talked about, I think as you get home and continue to work with this heifer and strategize, maybe take some of that hair off that tailhead just to see if we can knock that tailhead down just a bit, young man. But you're doing a great job with that heifer. You had a heifer earlier, I believe, today that was giving you some trouble. You got things put together, and you got this one put together really well. Behind these heifers, we got some great heifers in second. I'm going to go out and get you a division champion, then we'll bring that second place from that respective class to select our reserve. But if you would, ringside, let's give these exhibitors a round of applause for getting these cattle together and getting them looking good and presented today. Heifer coming in second out of that respective class is one that we just called the powerhouse. If you, much like the heifer ahead of her, one that you can certainly appreciate just from any angle, the base width, the natural product, and natural muscling that this heifer had. As we mentioned in class, one that we may trim up just a little bit to balance her up in regards to that brisket, and maybe extend her and give her a notch more femininity up through that front third and clean her up there. But one, just in terms of breed characteristics, power, certainly a unique female that you're going to be able to take several different ways, I'm sure, once you get in the breeding program. It gets extremely close. I like all three of these females, but I'll go show you the one that I like for reserve calf champion. Once again, not easy to get these cattle together in this weather, and these exhibitors done a great job. So if you would, let's give them another round of applause before we select our reserve Division I champion.
Well, congratulations over here in your Longhorn ring. We have the champion out of your first division, junior females. Champion's going to go to back number 10,010, exhibited and owned by Tamara and Thomas Bush. And reserve champion's going to go to back number 10,005, exhibited by Sheridan Van Blaircombe. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. We'll now look to get started with Class 8, females born September through December. Back over in your junior Red Angus ring, we have the results of Class 3A March heifer calves. First place was exhibited by Katie Cotton of Hallsville, Texas. Second place exhibited by James Tripp of Nardin, Oklahoma. Third place exhibited by Kinley Rathman of Slayton, Texas. Fourth place in Class 3A exhibited by Tartut Rushford, Minnesota. Fifth place was exhibited by Avery McMurphy, Alva, Oklahoma. Sixth place went to back number 40,529, exhibited by Mason Cray, Rush Springs, Oklahoma. Seventh place, Emery Bowers of Yukon, Oklahoma. Eighth place in that class goes to Maddie Miller of Bismarck, North Dakota. Ninth place, exhibited by Veronica Lentz of Creston, Iowa. 10th place, exhibited by Clayton St. John, Gainesville, Texas. And 11th place, Reagan Cray, Rush Springs, Oklahoma. Currently over in Ring 1, our judge, Mr. Blake Nelson, is evaluating Class 3B March heifer calves.
Well, as we get out in this class, certainly some challenge here. These top two are good cattle. That one in second just is not wanting to let him get her presented out here. But past that, you get to look at this dark red heifer. Really like her from a stoutness standpoint. I think a big-footed, dense-made kind of a heifer here that's wide-chested, bold-ribbed, and one that has some dimension. With that, I think she's still balancing proportions plenty good. She's not quite as refined about her head and neck as our heifer in second. I'd just like to maybe freshen that look up about her there. But from her shoulders back, there's a ton of cow there, and I really like those parts about her. The young man's heifer in second, she is giving him fits, but you can appreciate the quality in this one. Got a nice look up through her front end. She's good in terms of her center body, in terms of the shape of her rib, having some dimension. She does want to roll off on her hip just a little bit and drop those pins. Just like to smooth her up in the way she handles that and getting out, you know, she never just finally the walk time. I'd like to square her up down low. The next heifer in the lineup's one that I love from just being a cow one. She is one that's moderate. She's big-bodied. She's thick-made and heavy-boned. Really sound and flexible in the way she goes. I'd be the first to tell you I'd trim her up a notch in terms of condition up through that front third of her body. I think that would do her some good because you do like the function in her. The young man's lighter red heifer here in fourth. This heifer has some good parts and pieces. She's level-topped. She's one that has some symmetry and dimension to her. I'd like to freshen her up about her head. Maybe you see her come to the ground with just a shot more bone to her to match up with that dimension. She wants to get a little tight in her loin when she moves. The next heifer coming out, another heifer on the stand. You love the silhouette in her. She's one that's feminine necked. She's one that's level enough from the point of her shoulder back to her hook bone. Has some spring. Don't have quite that depth of flank in her yet. But I think when that comes in her, she's one you're going to like awfully well. At times maybe wants to just get a little peggy in the way she moves up front. And she may just be fighting the halter or not, you know, just getting out and going. She relaxes, though. That's where you'd change her. Young man's heifer next in the lineup, the dark red heifer. I love the length and thickness this one has. She's one that's big-backed and thick-rumped, has some bone work to her. To me, too tubular through her middle. I'd like to drop her down her heart and see her carry depth a little better through that flank. The next heifer in the lineup's a big ribbed, sound moving one. Just a little wastier made down through her chest, her navel, not quite as attractive on the profile. The light yellow heifer coming out, one you appreciate from the profile. She's one that's feminine fronted. She's level lined. She's one that tracks, to me, sound enough, just a little flat. You step in behind that one, she wants to narrow up and flatten up. Young man's heifer next in the lineup, another one you can appreciate for her performance, being a big rib kind of a heifer, just a little round made and off in terms of her balance, one you'd like to loosen up in her spine. The dark red heifer coming out next, another one I appreciate for being really sound in terms of her structure. She's one that's level in her top, just needs to be stoutened up a bit all the way through. Then we got the heifer that wraps up the class, one you can appreciate for being pretty clean up through her front end, just a little frail in terms of her makeup compared to that top end group.
We're here on the Longhorn side as we get started in the second division. I think we've got a nice pair of heifers to get started, and one that excels the class and wins it on the move. I love how confident this heifer is when she gets out and tracks. Got good sized foot, good substance of bone, and when we get her in park, really admire the length of body that this heifer has. And being that long, she still stays relatively put together. Maybe not the depth of body and capacity and looseness of flank of the heifer in second, but really a feminine, elegant female in her front third. Really appreciate the horn growth and development on that female. Lots of eye appeal. Young lady does a great job of getting that one parked. Heifer in second on the standstill. I admire a lot of things about this heifer. We got a little extra frame in this heifer. I would like to dial her down just a notch, but you get past that. Here's a good basic female right here, just in terms of having some muscle and some power and some depth of body. Just want to give her just a notch more confidence as she gets out, maybe gets a little looser on the move and a little more flex in that rear pasture. But nonetheless, you talk about a good female, has lots of eye appeal, and one you can breed on several different ways. Congratulations to you, young lady. Great pair to start off our second division here in our Longhorn show.
Well, congratulations. In Longhorn Ring, we have the results of Class 8. First place went to Robertson Cattle Company, and second place went to Megan Bush. We now also have the results out of Class 3B, March Heifer Calves and your Junior Red Angus show. First place in that class was exhibited by Delana Green of LaGrange, Indiana. Second place went to back number 40,545, exhibited by Kyler Pludge of Lincoln, Nebraska. Third place in that class, exhibited by Kaylin Counts of Warrensburg, Missouri. Fourth place, exhibited by Caleb Tucker of Norfolk, Nebraska. Fifth place in that class, exhibited by Belle Wadey of Millsap, Texas. Sixth place, Aiden Rabb of Markle, Indiana. Seventh place, Jalen Amos of Gentry, Arkansas. Eighth place, exhibited by Tyler Wallace of Harris, Iowa. Ninth place, exhibited by Stockton Hendren of Stillwater, Oklahoma. 10th place, Landon Parkhill of Lewisburg, Kansas. And 11th place in that class went to Riley Hack of Glatonia, Nebraska. We're now going to bring in your first and seconds, and we'll compete for your first division here in your Junior Red Angus show. Now entering the ring, we're going to bring in all of your first and seconds. Entering the ring now, we have Class 1, first place exhibited by Lauren Gokey, State Center, Iowa. First place out of Class 2A was exhibited by Morley Griffith, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Coming in out of Class 2B, first place exhibited by Olivia Naylor, Connorsville, Indiana. First place, Class 3A, March Heifer Calves. First place was exhibited by Katie Cotton of Hallsville, Texas. And first place in Class 3B, March Heifer Calves. First place was exhibited by Delana Green of LaGrange, Indiana. For those of you joining us here in the Jim Norick Coliseum, if you could please put your hands together for all of our exhibitors in our first division and your Junior Red Angus show.
Well, as we get over here in our calf division in the Junior Red Angus show, you know, it's kind of been slow treading this morning, just getting everything lined up out back and the microphone issues. So hopefully we'll get the ball rolling and get to going a little better. But one thing that hasn't been off is the quality these kids have brought me. Tremendous set of heifer calves, and I think you see the class winners in the second. You've got to be impressed with this group out here. I think they're awfully good. And to me, there's just a couple of them, particularly one that sticks out that hits me pretty hard to win this division. And I think for reserve, maybe gets a little tighter there. But give these kids a big round of applause, and I'll go show you your champion in this division.
Well, congratulations. Your champion spring heifer calf in our Junior Red Angus show comes out of Class 2A, exhibited by Morley Griffith of Shawnee, Oklahoma. Second place in that class was exhibited by Brett Pembroke, Fairview, Oklahoma.
Over here in our Longhorn show in our second class of the middle division, nice pair of heifers that are different in terms of type and kind. I went ahead and settled on the larger framed heifer, but with that frame, I think she's just got a little more natural product to her, a little more eye appeal, a little more femininity, and both these young ladies are doing a great job in terms of feeding these females. Young lady tells me she's got this one 6 months bred. She'll calve right before she's 2. Got her in good shape, lots of fill in this female, lots of power and muscle. Any way you look at her, gets her on the profile and balances up really well. Might give her just a shot more substance of bone, but really a nice female young lady's doing a good job with. Heifer hit me hard when she walked in. This heifer in second, a lot of eye appeal, a lot of muscle. I appreciate the moderate frame size in this heifer in regards to the heifer in front of her. Here's one that's going to be around for a long, long time. He's certainly appears to be an easy fleshing female. I appreciated the extra shot of bone this female had. Would just like to make her a notch more feminine about her head, although I do appreciate that good sized muzzle on that female. Good pair of females here. Congratulations, young ladies.
And we have the results of your reserve champion spring heifer calf. We'll go to back number 40,714, KJHT Let's Dance 1160, exhibited by Olivia Naylor of Connorsville, Indiana. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. We'll now look for Class 4A February heifer calves. Back over in Ring 2, your Texas Longhorn show, we have the results of Class 9 females born May through August. First place went to back number 10,029, exhibited by Randy and Catherine Morris. Second place in that class goes to back number 1028, exhibited by Ryan and Devin Culpepper. Congratulations to those exhibitors. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you sitting ringside, we would like to let you know about our 2 bars we have here at the Cattlemen's Congress. The loft that is directly across from the announcer booth above the Jim Norick Arena sign is open for business. You do not need to have a membership to be a part of the loft, so head on up there to watch the show. You can sit right up there in the loft. We also have the Cattlemen's Bar, which is open in Barn 3. That is open currently. You can watch the show live as well from the Cattlemen's Bar in Barn 3, or join us up in the loft above the Jim Norick Arena sign. Currently in our Junior Red Angus ring, we are bringing in those exhibitors to compete for a bred-known division here in the spring heifer calves. We have the results of the champion bred known spring heifer calves. First place went to Morley Griffith, Shawnee, Oklahoma, and reserve champion in the bred known will go to Kinley Rathman of Slayton, Texas. We're now going to bring in Class 4A February heifer calves. Currently in Ring 2, we have Class 10 females born January through April in our Texas Longhorn show. Attention to all of our Longhorn exhibitors. There will be a 15-minute break after the last mature female class before we begin the bull classes. Once again, Longhorn exhibitors, we will have a 15-minute break following the last mature female class.
Over here in our Longhorn show, good set of heavy bred females. Heifer here, in particular here in the front, is knocking on the door here, about to give us a coupon, and really appreciate the condition that they have this heifer in. A little bit leaner in relation to the other heifers in the class, and I certainly appreciate that about her. A lot of eye appeal in terms of the height of this heifer, like the horn development. Balances up nice on the profile. Just a female that I found to be the most eye appealing, the most fault-free and feminine female in terms of in her front third. I really appreciate the extension that this female has in her front third. Nice female, one I'd like to maybe power up in her stifle if you wanted to get critical on her, but it'll be interesting to see how she stacks up in the drive. Congratulations to you, young lady. Chose to switch this pair here, right here at the end, and the young man, or young lady rather, tells me has this heifer in second, a little further along in terms of her gestation. Here's a long-bodied heifer, one that gets a balance thrown off just a bit. She's carrying extra condition there in that brisket, and as we lead on into calving time, I encourage you, young lady, maybe take some of that condition off this heifer, but you get past that. Here's a good functional heifer, and one that also excelled the heifer in third in terms of extension through that front third. Nice female. Congratulations to you, young lady. Heifer in third, I tell you what, if you're looking for power, here's your female. Really a stout built one. Love this female's base width and the power that she excels over her top and there in her midsection. Just one I wish was a little further along in terms of her gestation, but nonetheless, sure enough, nice female. To move her up in the class, I just would like to maybe give her just a notch more extension there in that front third, maybe make her head just a notch more feminine. But nonetheless, eye appealing in terms of her hide, great horn development on that female. Congratulations to you, young lady. That's going to be a good one for a long time to come. Young man brings us a long-bodied heifer here, lots of eye appeal in terms of her hide. Just one I'd like to loosen up just a tick there on the move and in her flank. Just gets a little more tubular in terms of her design, but nonetheless, I think you got good functional stock there. One that when you go to breed, look for a good, powerful one to give her a little more depth of body in that rear third. Congratulations, great set of cattle from end to end. Nice future for all 4 females in this class.
Well, over in ring 2, we have the results of Class 10 Longhorn females born January through April. First place went to back number 10,034, exhibited by Shar Family Longhorns. Second place, exhibited by 10,031, Long M Ranch. Third place in that class will go to back number 10,032, exhibited by Megan Bush. And fourth place in that class goes to back number 10,030, exhibited by Jonathan and Megan Worms. Now going to bring in Class 11, females born Again, currently in ring 2, we have Class 11. These 4 females are born in 2019 in your Texas Longhorn Open Show. Currently over here in your Junior Red Angus ring, we have Class 4A February heifer calves.
Well, I'm sorry that took me a little longer. There was just some decisions down the lineup. I think you could still maybe toss up because there's lots of good heifers in this class. I don't know if there's just an absolute type you can tie onto and use all the way down because it's just that kind of class. But young man's heifer we lead off with on the stand, I think she smokes them. She's one that just has a really nice look from the side. All the parts come together and fit like they should. I think with that, she's got as much just true heart in terms of rib shape there and has some width to go along with that. When she gets out and moves, you know, she moves okay. She's a little tentative in that hind leg just in terms of flexing and reaching, and but I don't want to throw too many rocks at her. I sure like her on the stand. Awfully well. Young lady's heifer in second. This heifer's kind of giving her all she wants on the halter, but if you study this heifer, there's a lot of genuine good in her. I think she's one, I love her in terms of her midrib, her body mass, her heart. This heifer is one that's good in terms of having some real width when you get in behind her. She's one that when you watch her stride out, I think certainly adequate in terms of structure. Might like to see her maybe just a little smoother right there in her loin. I think that's a solid kind of a female there. Young man's heifer in third on the profile. You love the parts with her, and I think as a heavy bred, she could sure come back to haunt me, and I hope for his sake she does because she is one just pretty as a picture from the side. She balances up. She's finally chilling out and letting him show her. She's one that, to me, structurally is just fine. I would like to open her up in her heart and just give her a shot more width all the way through. Like I said, as she gets to be a heavy bred and we get just a little more real punch to her, she could sure move up in the lineup. Young man's heifer in fourth. That's one place I think this one excels is behind her blade. Opens up really good in terms of her midrib, her width she has. I love that dimension, that part of her from her shoulder back. You like the levelness. I'd be the first to tell you I'd tidy her up in that shoulder, raise her up in her chest, and extend her out a notch. I'd like to see her just move just a little looser out of that hip. She wants to roll a little bit. Young man's dark red heifer coming out next. Another one that has pieces and parts. She's big in her center rib. She's long-necked. Just wants to really get just tight in the way she goes. And I don't know if it's so much structure or her just fighting the halter, but you would set her back in her knee. You would like to change her up a little bit in her hip. And she is one I think just needs a shot more bone to match up with that center body mass just to balance her a little better. The heifer coming around the corner now, the light red heifer, you love her in terms of having some genuine spring of rib, one that sure has some dimension from behind and some bone work to her. With that, though, gets a little plainer up through her neck and chest, not quite as attractive there. Another one you'd smooth out in that tail head. Young lady's heifer coming out next is a heifer I like on the profile. I think she's got a nice look to her. She's sound enough on her feet and legs and has some dimension through her hip. She just really kind of gets a little too pinched for me in terms of her heart and forerib there. We need to open her up there, just see a little more center mass and flank in her. Young man's heifer coming around the corner now. Another heifer I like in terms of having some body levelness. She's one for me that maybe just needs to be smoothed up a little bit in her shoulder and tail head, clean her up a scotch in that hock. But I think that's a good kind of heifer. We got her really fresh and nicely presented out here. The heifer coming around the corner now, another heifer I like for having some dimension and thickness to her. Just for me, a little chuffier and rounder up through that shoulder and chest. Not quite as neat in her neck. She needs to be more feminine, and I trim her up a notch. Young lady's light red heifer coming out next. Another one that's level top, long-sided, and has some extension to her. She's one for me. I'd like to see her just stouter built all the way through. I'd stouten her up in her bone work and like to see a little more dimension. Nice job on the halter. Young lady's heifer, we have next two coming out. Both heifers you can appreciate for having some femininity to them. Just like to see more center mass to them and dimension. And the heifer that wraps up the class, one that's pretty attractive through the front third of her body. Just one that gets a little frail in her overall makeup and gives up some in terms of performance. Let's go give those kids a round of applause on a really competitive class of heifer calves.
Well, over here on our Longhorn side, a real interesting class and a challenging one that certainly make a man earn his lunch, I tell you that much. And the reason why it's so challenging is some of these cows are already bred back with their second calf, and they're obviously at different stages of the game. So a lot of balancing, a lot of gives and takes in this class, and considering where they stand in their own regard in terms of their gestation cycles. With that, there's also a lot of fun because production is what it's all about, and certainly an attribute of this breed. And so it was a lot of fun to visit with each exhibitor and figure out what their cows have been doing, and a lot of quality from end to end. I've said that a lot today, and I genuinely mean that. There's a lot of good cattle in this class. Unfortunately, got to sort them which way, and it comes down to my personal preference. as I went through this class, there was a lot of challenges, but this cow just always steadily was at the top for me. I certainly, and I think she does that just with her overall totality. I appreciate the frame score that this cow has. I love the eye appeal in terms of her hide and freshness, and I love the front third that this female has. Good over her top, just really overall a fairly complete cow. I would like to match her teat size in the rear too with the front, but it's balanced, good udder. Obviously, she's doing a great job, and that's something that I certainly appreciated and elevated this cow, because sometimes the cows certainly may not look quite as good as they once did, but this young man right here, this bull calf, is her job, and she's certainly getting her job done. So I just found a good, well-balanced pair there to land on to start this class off with. Just a good pair. It'll be interesting to compare them as we move further along in the drive. Congratulations to you, young lady. Hard and tough decision for me in 2 and 3, because I like a lot of things about both these females. Young lady brings us one that's bred back, about to have her second calf, she tells me. A lot of power, a lot of meat, a lot of muscle. Just a tick more condition probably than I would like to see in one about to domino, but most importantly, really appreciate the udder quality. And I think at the end of the day, just a touch more moderate frame score and that udder quality elevated this female over the heifer in third. Would like to maybe make her a notch more elegant there in that front third, but I talk about one with just a lot of capacity and power from end to end. There's your girl right there. Congratulations to you, young lady. Now, I'll tell you what, when this one first lined up there, you talk about a presence that this female has. A lot of eye appeal, and that she gets that with that extra frame. But the more I studied this female, the more good I saw in her. From end to end, very correct in terms of her structure. Maybe not as stout in that rear third in terms of her bone and footwork and depth of flank, but one I certainly appreciate the freshness of the condition that female has, as well as where she stands in her gestation, just getting one weaned. Cow coming to us in fourth, another one doing a good job raising a calf at side there. Another real elegant, pretty, square-made, capacious cow doing a great job with that bull calf. One that I would just like to power her up just a little bit, maybe make her just a notch more fresher in terms of appearance. But a good cow getting her job done as well. And maybe balance up that bag just a notch as well to elevate her in that top three. But a high-quality pair there nonetheless. Then we get down to these last three, and these pose some challenges because I think they're great livestock. Just for me, it just came down to, I guess, the one thing that I'd like to see more of them. Maybe not quite the bone and the power that these others ahead of them had from stifle, from end to end as you get behind them. But cattle that I certainly appreciate for getting the job done. As I mentioned, some had already weaned calves and were bred back. But just a good trio of cattle down here at the bottom, just maybe not the design and overall look and balance in the last three. But a great class, one that I certainly enjoyed sorting, and congratulations to those exhibitors on all the production that class represented.
Well, congratulations. In ring 2, we have the results of Class 11 in your Texas Longhorn Show. First place will go to back number 10,036, exhibited by Tanner Longhorns. Second place go to back number 10,041, exhibited by Adeline Hamilton. Third place in that class goes to back number 10,037, exhibited by Jonathan and Megan Worms. Fourth place will go to back number 10,035, exhibited by Jared Dickey. Fifth place in that class will go to back number 10,040, exhibited by Chaparral Cattle Company. Sixth place, exhibited by Clarice Francis, and seventh place in that class, exhibited by Randy and Catherine Morris. We're now going to bring in your first and seconds over here in your Longhorn ring. We'll be selecting a champion and reserve champion senior female. Back over in the Red Angus ring, we have the results of Class 4 February heifer calves. First place was exhibited by Preston Hartman of Tecumseh, Nebraska, with Rojas Share the Sugar, 1421. Second place in that class, exhibited by Carly Rathman, Slayton, Texas. Third place, exhibited by Brett Pembroke, Fairview, Oklahoma. Fourth place was exhibited by Zachary Griffith of Marietta, Oklahoma. Fifth place, exhibited by Brett Pembroke, Fairview, Oklahoma. Sixth place, exhibited by Jaron Wright of Seymour, Texas. Seventh place in Class 4A, exhibited by Carly Shutter of Frankton, Indiana. Eighth place went to Clayton St. John, Gainesville, Texas. Ninth place in that class, exhibited by Lucas Bowling of Sheldon, Missouri. 10th place, exhibited by Jalen Habrel of Sulphur Springs, Texas. 11th place, exhibited by Willow Shankles of Marietta, Oklahoma. 2nd place, exhibited by Kelsey Amos of Gentry, Arkansas. 13th in that class was exhibited by Carter Holton of Cisco, Texas. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. Currently in Ring 1, our judge, Mr. Blake Nelson, is evaluating Class 4B February heifer calves.
Over here on our Longhorn side, we're now selecting our 2nd division champions, and what a division. A lot of variety in terms of age and where they stand in terms of their gestation, and just a lot of quality from end to end. And at the end of this division, I think we have 8 excellent representatives for the Longhorn breed, cattle that I just, in general, see a lot of function, a lot of good, a lot of doability with plenty of future to them. Heifer that won the first class, one that's very unique in terms of her type and kind, probably has a rib longer than most in this lineup. Certainly appreciate that length of body that she has, and with all that length, she stays relatively strong in her spine and her top. Very elegant about her head and neck, like the extension, as we mentioned in class, with all that length. Maybe not the depth of flank as some of the others in this lineup, but certainly one with a tremendous amount of future ahead of her, and several different ways you can go, I'm sure, when you go to mating on that one. Certainly an interesting female there. Heifer coming out of the next class, one very powerful in terms of, and robust about her rib shape and her midsection. A lot of middle in that one. They've done a great job in terms of getting that one to have some condition and carrying it very freshly. My hat's off to them for doing that. And with that also comes out here very slicked off and very fresh in terms of her appearance. Very balanced in terms of her look from the side. Every once in a while, maybe wants to get just a notch weak in that top or pinched in that in that top, but that also goes, I think, with her hide color. You got to study that one pretty closely, or you'll miss that one. I see a lot of good in that female, like the femininity that one has. Just a good look to that one. Next female here, maybe not quite as fresh as the female ahead of her, but yet similar in terms of type and kind and balance. Really like the hide on this one, the eye appeal that she has, and the horn development. One that's very balanced in terms of her look. I'd just like to maybe stouten her up just a little bit down in that stifle, stretch her out, maybe give her just a notch more base width. But an interesting and intriguing female in her own right, due to all the things I mentioned before. Then we just got out of that really tough class that had lots of different things to offer in terms of females that weaned calves and bred back. And I settled on this female right here because I just saw the most totality in this female. Obviously doing a great job raising that interesting bull calf there. Already in production, yet still has some freshness, still has some look. Maybe not as stout-topped as some of the individuals or has the strength of top, but also got to understand she's doing a great job of nursing that bull calf and getting her job done, all the while still having some features that the cattle in front of her do in terms of freshness and eye appeal and overall look. Really tough division. It's going to be close. I'm going to give them one more look, and then we'll bring the second place in for that respective class. But if you're as proud of this lineup as I am, let's give these Longhorn breeders and enthusiasts a round of applause on a great lineup.
Well, as we get out in this class, tremendous heifer to lead off with. This one really, to me, gets your attention. I mean, just one that's you know, a little more moderate in size, which isn't bad. You think about her age, she's plenty big enough in my mind, but just good. She's one that flexes and reaches and goes. She's the one that presents you that nice maternal look from the side. This one definitely has plenty of real rib, enough width there. I think just an awful solid class winner there that comes out. Young man's dark red heifer that comes out next. I love just the kindness of this one. She's a big-hearted, big-sided one there that has a lot of volume and mass to her. Still sound enough on her feet and legs. She's one that, for me, maybe wants to just fight him a little bit. You never get the best look. And right there, you can see she pulls the parts together just a little bit better. I like that extra length, that extra mass that she has to get up here in second for me today. The young lady's heifer in third. I love the genuine base width in her. I think she's one that's wide-chested. She's bold-bodied and thick-ended. Another heifer that's kind of wanting to be a knothead and won't want to relax. But when she does relax, she gets her head up. I think she balances and proportions quite well. I like the fact there's some genuine spring in her heart, the way she carries it back to her flank. I'd like to smooth her up in her loin and tail head. Young lady's heifer coming out in second. I think this one, you know, hopefully is a big bred. The rest of her comes, because if that happens, she goes up about 4 spots, because I love the pieces and parts in her. I like her femininity up through her front end, her levelness in her top line. I think her structure's plenty good enough for me. She's just one out here today, still a little more pinched in her heart and flank and midrib, not quite that body yet. But, man, if that comes, this one could put together some awfully good pieces. That's a high-quality heifer. I just wish there was a little more mass in her today. But, again, I like that one extremely well. The next heifer in the lineup you like from just one that's stoutness and big rib. She's one that's wide-chested and has a lot of dimension to her from end to end. With that, though, you know, she does open up and get a little rounder through her shoulder. Not as quite as thin and clean up through that front third as she could be. That's where I'd like to tweak on her. The young lady's heifer next in the lineup, I think a big bone one here that has some length of side. You'd like to smooth her up in her chest, shoulder, and tail head. The heifer coming around the corner next, a very attractive heifer that's clean necked, smooth shouldered, and straight in her lines. She's a heifer that has some thickness. I'd like to drop just a little more midrib in her and give her a shot of bone. Young man's heifer we have turned the corner now. Another heifer I like for her look. She's one for me, just wants to get a little shallowed up as you study her back through that rear rib and flank. Then we have the yellow heifer next in the lineup. I like for having some thickness to her and some body shape, just a little coarser in her tail head or hock. The way she handles her joints, we'd like to smooth her up there. The dark red heifer, another one you can appreciate for having some length and some soundness to her. She's one that needs to lay in better through her shoulder and tail head, and I would give her a shot more width when you get in behind her. The yellow heifer next in the lineup, one that has a nice look from the side, a little frail in her bone work. Then we run into 3 heifers here at the bottom that I think all have some quality to them, just maybe don't have that overall dimension, the overall standout presence we find that top end. Let's give those kids a hand.
Over here in our Longhorn side, just selected our Division II champion there. Went with the cow-calf pair out of the last class. And we bring the second place in out of that respective class, and no drop in terms of quality. Another high-quality individual that comes to us with a great udder, lots of udder promise there with that female. And you get past that, just a lot of power, a lot of look in this female, as we mentioned in class. Would like to trim her up just a little bit in terms of her condition, but really good female there, just a good brood cow from end to end with a good look. I think it gets close again, but I'm certainly happy with the female that's going to end up reserve. I think there's a pair of heifers in here that marry each other, and as the heifer out of the second class develops, I think she'll look similar to our heifer in the last class, but I'll go get your reserve division champion. Let's give these breeders and exhibitors a round of applause on a great set of females in this second division.
Well, we have the results of your senior female division over here in the Texas Longhorn Show. Your champion will go to back number 10,036, exhibited by Tanner Longhorns. And reserve champion in that division will go to back number 10,029, exhibited by Randy and Catherine Morris. We're now going to bring in your division champion, and reserves will be selecting your grand reserve champion female here in your Texas Longhorn Open Show. A reminder to all exhibitors, we will be taking a 15-minute break in the Longhorn ring after our last female class. Back over in the Junior Red Angus ring, we have the results of Class 4B February heifer calves. First place was exhibited by back number 40,587 BJF CETA 1049J, exhibited by Luke Borkland of Henning, Minnesota. Second place was exhibited by Kyler Pudge of Lincoln, Nebraska. Third place in that class exhibited by Presley Rushing of Canton, Texas. Fourth place in Class 4B February heifer calves goes to Paige Van Dyke of Louisville, Illinois. Fifth place went to Danica Lowry of El Dorado Springs, Missouri. Sixth place in Class 4B February heifer calves go to Alyssa Worthington of Frederick, Oklahoma. Seventh place exhibited by Madison Ori of Indianoma, Oklahoma. Eighth place in that class will go to Dade DeLozer of Adair, Oklahoma. Ninth place exhibited by Barrett Allen of Ardmore, Oklahoma. 10th place in that class exhibited by Caleb Tucker of Norfolk, Nebraska. 11th place exhibited by Devin Lockhart of College Station, Texas. 12th place will go to Carter Holton of Cisco, Texas. And 13th in that class goes to Riley Hack of Gatonia, Nebraska. Now currently in ring 1, we have Class 5 January heifer calves.
Well, over here on our Longhorn side, we made it to our Grand Champion Drive in our female show, and what a show it's been. I want to ask that you pardon my attire today. I was able to make it to Oklahoma City, but unfortunately my luggage didn't, so pardon me for wearing blue jeans today. But it's not about me, it's about the exhibitors and these great cattle. As I mentioned before, unfortunately COVID knocked me out of my last opportunity to judge some Longhorns, and certainly glad to make this one work, and certainly enjoyed the day. A lot of quality in all these classes from end to end, and my hat's off to you, and I certainly commend you all. I know it was difficult probably getting here for some of y'all. As I told some of these exhibitors here earlier, it was 96 where I was yesterday back at home, but certainly glad to be here, and glad that you Longhorn exhibitors made the trip. Your passion about your cattle and your products certainly shows. I've been impressed about how well you all have presented these cattle throughout, and just the quality. I think the four individuals out here in this ring speaks volumes of what y'all are doing in your respective programs, and you can mix and match these four females every which way, and I certainly wish I could make all four of them champions in their own right, but there's going to be some tough decisions to make here in just a second. Heifer that wins the first division, that was a big division, a lot of good cattle. One that I just found to be unique. Really liked this heifer from end to end, just for her eye appeal, her looseness in terms of the way she's built. Loved the center turn of that rib shape. Stays strong over her top, and when she gets set up, just has a beautiful silhouette about her and a tremendous future. I like the stoutness in terms of the substance of bone that she has, and the foot, just lot of correctness and good in this female, a lot of muscle when you get behind her, natural base width, one that's going to be a lot of fun once she gets into production to deal with. As I mentioned, maybe not the eye appeal in terms of her hide color, but one that just when you analyze skeletons, I certainly like what that female brings to the table, in particular being this juvenile and it being this cold and this big of a challenge to get one presented. The exhibitors that have shown that one have done a good job of getting that one put together. Then out of our last division, we've got the cow-calf pair that came out of a class that had a lot of production in it. You had some that already weaned calves and bred back. I landed on this female here just due to her overall correctness, her frame score, her practicality, and certainly like the quality and the future that she's showing us in that bull calf at side. And as I mentioned, maybe not the flair that some of the other female entries in the show have had in relation to the way she looks today, but I'm taking into account the great job she's doing with that bull calf in production. Sure would like to maybe match the teat size on this female, but really a nice female when you get to analyzing this one. Relatively fault-free, maybe not the most powerful female here, but when you just study this one and analyze one, she's got enough of just about everything. Just a beautiful cow, lots of femininity and a good look. I'm going to give them one last look. We'll pick a grand champion. We'll bring that reserve division behind that one and give it a look. It's going to be tight. There'll be some tough decisions to make, but it's been my pleasure to make them, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to do it. So if you would, put your hands together for both the Cattlemen's Congress for giving us this opportunity, and these Longhorn exhibitors for getting here and doing such a great job exhibiting their cattle today.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion Texas Longhorn female at the Cattlemen's Congress, exhibited by Tanner Longhorns, coming out of Class 11.
The reserve division out of that respective division we just talked about, one that just from end to end, lots of power. They did a great job of getting this female ready for this particular show. In terms of her condition, I think she's carrying about as much condition that she needs to, but she's doing it in a very fresh and elegant manner, so my hat's off to you. I know that's a challenge. One that when he analyzed her, just really liked the power from end to end. One that whenever this young lady gets her set up, gives a nice look, wants to get just a notch weak there right in the center of that top, and I visited with that young lady about it. It could also be just something that her hide maybe gives that impression that she gets a notch weak top, but nonetheless a good high quality female, and the decision doesn't get any easier as we bring this heifer back in, but I'll go show you the one I like for reserve champion. Been a great show. My hat's off to you exhibitors on getting them here and getting them presented at this high level. Congratulations to y'all.
And congratulations, your reserve champion female here at the Cattlemen's Congress and our Texas Longhorn Show. It's going to come out of your junior division reserve champion, going to back number 10,010, exhibited by Tamarin Thomas Bush. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. We'll now look for Class 17 mature females.
Well, as we get over here on the Red Angus side, you know, this class to me is really interesting, and I would tell you this class winner, I'd be the first to tell you, you know, I'm glad to see her because I think she's really good, but I'm reluctant to use her because I think she's plenty big relative to her age. I just hope, you know, I think you're going to raise some good cattle in your future, bud, but I hope you're raising some corn too, because that one is plenty big. She's good, but she's plenty big. Big ribs, sound moving, good looking. She puts all the parts together that you would check in terms of boxes. I think y'all know how I feel about her size, so we'll roll on. The heifer we have in second, I think, is a really good one, too, and I think this one's going to get better as she comes together. She's one that young lady gets a stick on her. She's one that's sure level on her top line. She's got a good look from the side. I think she's one for me. The flank will come as she gets heavier bred. I think that's going to help her pull her silhouette together just a little bit better. But that is an awfully nice heifer there we have in second. The heifer in third, this is the thickness heifer. She's one that's bold-bodied, thick-ended, and heavy-boned. Love those parts about her. I think she's pretty sound on that back wheel and the way she handles it. Opens up a little more through her shoulder, a little steeper there in the angle to her shoulder. But I think that's an awfully good heifer there, too, that has a lot of upside. The dark red heifer we have in fourth, love this one on the profile. Man, she presents you a cool look. I think that heifer's one's really sound up front. Like to maybe see her just move that hock just a little better on the back, too. More than anything, you step in behind her, you'd open her up a little more through her center body and give her a shot more width. The yellow heifer's one on the stand. I like her really well in terms of her look. An extension up front. I think this heifer is one that sure has a smooth makeup to her. She's another one maybe could just flex a little better on those back two, and I'd give her a shot more body mass. Young man's heifer coming out next, a big, high-volume, deep-sided level line one there. Just a little too plain fronted for me. The heifer that follows her in the lineup, another heifer you can appreciate for being flexible and long-sided. Just a little too plain through her chest, and one you'd like to see a little stouter built. The dark red heifer's kind of a chunky-made heifer. Gets short-fronted there and a little tighter moving. Then we have three heifers that wrap up the class. It all has some extension to them, some levelness in their lines. Just simply need to have more body mass and width, compete with that top group.
Here on the Longhorn side, as we get into our mature division, young lady brings us a 3-year-old that's already weaned one heifer and is about to have, or weaned one calf rather, and about to have another one, and done a great job of getting this female to this point, this cow to this point. She's in good condition, very long-bodied female. She's sound and moves about the arena with plenty of ease. Sure like the muscle from end to end that this female possesses. If I'm going to get critical on this one, would like to loosen her up in her flank in relation to all that length of body that she has. But certainly really nice female. We'll see how she stacks up in the mature drive here in just a bit. Congratulations to you, young lady.
We have the results of Class 16 in your Texas Longhorn Show. First place exhibited by Danley Cattle Incorporated, back number 10,042. We're now going to bring in Class 17 mature females. After this class, we will be taking a 15-minute break before we start our bull show. Well, back over here in the Red Angus ring, we have the results of Class 5 January heifer calves. First place was exhibited by Jaden Johnson of Blossom, Texas. Second place in that class exhibited by Madison Fisher of Hempstead, Texas. Third place in that class will go to back number 40,610, exhibited by Luke Pladson of Harpers Ferry, Iowa. Fourth place in that class exhibited by Lee Borkland of Henning, Minnesota. Fifth place would go to Morgan Jackson of Kaufman, Texas. Sixth place, Hunter Jones of Monville, Missouri. Seventh place in that class exhibited by Dason DeLozer of Adara, Oklahoma. Eighth place exhibited by Brooklyn Cart of Gentry, Arkansas. Ninth place, Belle Wadey of Millsap, Texas. 10th place exhibited by Trey Ivy of Carbon, Texas, and 11th place to Caleb Williams of Fort Cobb, Oklahoma. We are now going to be selecting your champion reserve out of your junior heifer calf division.
Well, as we get out here in this lineup, 3 high-quality females out of their respective classes. I think you can find good in each one of them. For me, there's one of these that just checks all the boxes and then I think moves extremely well to go along with that and still has the balance and present and maybe just a little more appropriate size. Young man right there in the middle is going to be your division champion. Young man out of the youngest class will be reserve division. Let's give those young men a round of applause.
Well, over here on our Longhorn side, we get our last class of our mature division. Pretty awesome right here. Neat stories behind all 3 of these. The one that we're going to start the class off with is 14 years old, calf number 11 at side, 12 in the belly, and that's pretty amazing to have that much production behind you on your record and still look this good at that age. Cow just from end to end. I love the balance, the symmetry that this cow has. Love that capacity that she has when you get behind her. Got a good balanced udder and just a good looking cow. One that I think is going to be interesting to see how she stacks up once we put her in there with a class winner from the previous one. But congratulations to you on just a phenomenal package there. Amazing the production record behind that one. And it gets even better. I got a chuckle to myself here. Who am I to critique a cow that's 21 years old? It's had 18 calves, and that's what we have right here in second. Young lady tells me she won this female when she was in high school. So pretty awesome story, what it's all about. This one stood the test of time, just as the breed has for so many years. Like the depth of body that this cow has, the durability, the function. Obviously at 21, still maybe not as put together in terms of her udder and that rear third, but as I mentioned, who am I to critique a cow with that kind of production record? Really nice. Then the young lady brings us a 9-year-old that happens to be the dam to the reserve calf champion. One I like a lot, that baby that she has, that's most important. But just one that maybe doesn't have the stoutness of structure in terms of her foot and bone work, but another really nice, eye-appealing female with a great production record as well. Congratulations to this trio of young ladies out here on a great class of mature females.
Well, back over in our junior Red Angus ring, we have the results of your junior heifer calf division. champion went to back number 40,587, BJF seated 1049J, exhibited by Luke Borkland of Henning, Minnesota. Reserve champion is going to go to Roa's Share the Sugar 1421, exhibited by Preston Hartman of Tecumseh, Nebraska. Your champion bred and known also going to Luke Borkland, and reserve bred and known in that division will go to Presley Rushing of Canton, Texas. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. Currently in ring 1, we have Class 6 Winter Heifer Calves.
Over here in our Longhorn show, we get to the championship drive in our mature female show. Heifer that wins the first class was a single entry, but one that I certainly think could have withstood some competition. Sure like the condition that this female is in and the way she's been presented. Really, this young lady gets her put together and gives you a good look. Very long-bodied female, as we mentioned in class. Would like to loosen her up and give her just a little more depth of flank and a shot of bone, but a really nice, useful, functional female that the young lady brings to us. I believe she was a 3-year-old, correct? Just weaned a calf and going to have another one here pretty quick. Great little package there. Then the 14-year-old cow that's got number 11 at side, really a cow that has a lot of brood cow characteristics about her that I certainly appreciate. I like her frame size, I like her capacity, like the turn to that rib, like her extension throughout. Really a nice package with a great production record. Interesting horn design as well on this one and lots of eye appeal. I'll go pick your champion. We'll bring that second place out of that respective class and we'll get you to reserve. Let's put our hands together for the production representing this mature cow division. This is where it gets tough as we bring that second place out of that respective class. As we just mentioned, 21-year-old with a tremendous production record. Lots of substance of foot and bone in this female. Like that about her. Like the moderate frame size, and for all that production she has, still has a pretty good look about her. Obviously not the refinedness in terms of her rear third as a 3-year-old ahead of her, but nonetheless, certainly like the look that cow puts together. Otherwise, it gets really close for me, and I'm going to give them one last look, and I'll go get you a reserve champion in our mature cow division.
Well, congratulations in your mature female division here in your Texas Longhorn Show. Champion goes to back number 10,044, exhibited by Sheriff Family Longhorns. And reserve champion will go to back number 10,042, exhibited by Danley Cattle Incorporated. Once again, congratulations to all of our Longhorn female exhibitors. We're now going to take a 15-minute break here in the Longhorn Ring. We'll return back with Class 22, bulls born in May through June.
Well, we get in this class in the Angus Red Angus show. Really nice heifer. I think she's pretty commanding and gets here pretty quick for me. One that just balances well, but with that added stoutness as you study her for her width and her bone work, I think structurally she still moves plenty good. Maybe not quite as refined and elegant as this heifer in second through that front third of her body, but it still proportions and fits in her. He does a really good job on the halter with that heifer. Young lady's dark red heifer we have in second. I like the neat look she has. She's one that's attractive pattern. She's sound moving and smooth made. Just gives up some in terms of dimension there to our class winner. Maybe moves a notch better there off her front too, and I like that about her. Just like to see a little more mass if I'm going to swap that pair out here today. Young man's heifer in third. I think this heifer probably matches up in terms of just stoutness and density to that winner, but she wasn't quite as good on the profile. This one to me rolls up just a little more shoulder and chest. Not quite as good from hooks to pins and in her tail head, but I think that is a heifer there that has some genuine performance to her and overall mass and shape. Young lady's heifer next in the lineup, a really long-bodied one that's sure extended and has some thickness to her. I think a heifer for me that wants to maybe just get a little frailer in terms of her bone work. I'd like to lay her back in the sector, shoulder, and knee. Young lady's heifer that rounds the corner now, another heifer. She does a great job on the halter, showing some of this heifer's faults out of her. Because this heifer, to me, from her hook bone forward, is awfully good. She's big-bodied, really attractive fronted, but from hooks to pins, she's a little off. And I think that's where this young lady will get a stick on her, get that leveled up. But that's where you'd change her out, and I would like to see her just a little wider set in terms of her bone work and width. Young man's heifer coming around the corner now. Another heifer you can appreciate for having an attractive look from the side. She's symmetrical in terms of her lines. She's extended through her front end. This one, to me, really wants to kind of taper and funnel back there on those back two through her stifle and down low. You'd just like to thicken her up. Young man's heifer we have coming out next. Another heifer I can appreciate for being a sound, moving, easy-going kind of a heifer here that has some spring and arch right there out of her spine. You'd like to drop her down, give her a little more depth of flank. I'd like to smooth her up in her tail head and hock. The young lady's heifer coming out next probably is just wide base, thick-ended, and bold made as any in the class, but with that a little more restricted in terms of her structure. You'd like to see her just get out and move smoother off both ends of her skeleton. The young man's heifer we have wrapping up the class, still a good heifer that has some breeding value. She's bold-bodied, she's heavy-boned. I like all those parts about her. Just a little coarser built in terms of her head, shoulder, and just the way she handles herself, but that's one that sure has some dimension to her. Let's give those kids a hand.
Well, thank you, Mr. Nelson, and a nice way to start out Class 6 winter heifer calves. First place goes to ZKZG Harlow H807, exhibited by Zachary Griffith of Marietta, Oklahoma. Second place goes to DDAD Carmelo, exhibited by James Tripp of Nardin, Oklahoma. Third place in that class, exhibited by Jackson Staggs of Purcell, Oklahoma. Fourth place will go to Lillian Bowling of Sheldon, Missouri. Fifth place goes to Joelle Hardy of Madisonville, Texas. Sixth place in that class, exhibited by Tripp Berna of Stroud, Oklahoma. Seventh place will go to Colton Jones of Mountainville, Missouri. Eighth place goes to Newt Hutchinson of Canton, Oklahoma. Ninth place went to Newt Hutchinson of Canton, Oklahoma. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. Now entering Ring 1, we'll look for Class 7 senior heifer calves. After this class, we'll be selecting your Grand and Reserve fall heifer calves. Attention to all of our junior Red Angus exhibitors. After the selection of Grand and Reserve Grand Champion Junior Red Angus females, we will be taking a brief photo break. Followed by that, we'll go into showmanship, and followed by that, we will go into our open bull show.
Well, as we get out in this class, falls a really nice group of heifers. This heifer we lead off with, to me, just one that's real feminine in her makeup. I think you see it in her head, read it through her neck, her shoulder blade, the way it comes into her body, just smooth as silk in the way she's put together. She's one, I think you study that, and certainly enough width, enough flexibility as she goes to complement that. You do like the overall look she has, just comes at us real fresh in terms of her appearance. Young man's heifer we have in second. I do like the extra width she has in terms of her thickness and her bone work. Appreciate those parts about her. Man, this thing is one that is very big barreled. Maybe just not quite as neat down there in the base of her chest and her neck attachment as our class winner, but she is one that's awfully good. And finally, she's kind of quit fighting him now, and you can see from her shoulders back, that one I think is awfully, awfully nice. I would just like to sweeten up that front end just a tick. If I do that, it's lights out. But I think two good cattle there, and there's some give and take in them. The young lady's heifer in third, another heifer that's real attractive on the profile. She's got a nice overall just presence to her. She's one that sure has some thickness. Where she loses out to those top two, you study her right there in her heart. You'd open her up a little more and just give her more center mass to be competitive with those top two that are just the calorie middled, just a little more of them. Young lady's heifer coming around the corner now. Another one I like for just being practical. She's one that, to me, is big enough bodied. She's sound enough on her feet and legs. Maybe just doesn't hook together quite as neatly on her profile. A little lower in her neck attachment, not quite as smooth the way she transitions her shoulder into her body. Young man's light yellow heifer there coming around the corner now. Another one, just a good meat and potatoes kind of a female here. You like for her sweep and the shape she has to her center rib. She's sound and flexible. I like those parts about her. And long-sided, she is one that you might like to just see a shot more bone underneath her. I'd like to see her maybe just hook up a little neater in the way her neck comes into her body and give her a shot more width down low. The red heifer coming around the corner now is on the other end of the spectrum. This one is, to me, really wide-made, bold-bodied, thick-ended, and heavy bone, but with that, she just rolls up more shoulder. I'd like to see her smoother and more feminine in her overall build. The heifer coming out next, another one that's attractive in that front third. She's one for me, gets a little too shallow through that body. You'd stouten her up in her bone work and free her up in the way she uses that hind wheel. Then we've got this yellow heifer that wraps up the class that still has some good to her. She's one that has some thickness, some heaviness of structure, a little tight there in her loin. Like to see her just flex and reach a little easier off both ends.
Well, congratulations in Class 7 Senior Heifer Calves. First place will go to DKBF PCC Pride 207H, exhibited by Macy Weems of Eustis, Texas. Second place will go to DKBF PCC Pride 138H, exhibited by Rex Howard of Lattimore, North Carolina. Third place in that class goes to Reagan Cray of Rush Springs, Oklahoma. Fourth place, exhibited by Kinley Bratcher of Rush Springs, Oklahoma. Fifth place, exhibited by Casey Holton of Cisco, Texas. Sixth place will go to Caleb Williams of Fort Cobb, Oklahoma. Seventh place, exhibited by Dade DeLozier of Adair, Oklahoma. And eighth place in that class, exhibited by Quade West of Byers, Texas. We're now bringing in your first and seconds. We'll be selecting a Champion Reserve Fall Heifer Calf. Coming in out of Class 6, first place was exhibited by Zachary Griffith, Marietta, Oklahoma, with ZK 7K ZG Harlow H807. Second place in Zachary's class, exhibited by James Tripp, Nardin, Oklahoma. And coming in out of Class 7 Senior Heifer Calves, first place was exhibited by Macy Weems, Eustis, Texas, with DKBF PCC Pride 207H. Second place in that class, exhibited by Rex Howard of Lattimore, North Carolina. For those of you sitting ringside, please join me in putting your hands together for our exhibitors in our Fall Heifer Calf division.
Well, as we get out in this fall division, again, a really nice group. These 4 heifers, to me, all have a lot of quality and good with them. Our 2 respective class winners, I think both are really nice, and there's some give and take in them for me. That light yellow heifer that's around the corner now, that one has the advantage in terms of just maybe base width and body shape. Really like her through her forerib there, the dimension she has, and her heaviness of bone, and plants a really attractive hip and hind leg. One that still balances in proportions pretty good from the side. Maybe not quite as just extended through that front end as this heifer out of the second class, but you've got to really like this heifer in the second class on the profile. I think she's one that's got that ultra smooth look in terms of balance. You like the body depth and just the neatness in her. There's some give and take in those 2 cattle, but for me, the one that maybe just hits me a little harder out here today is the young lady's heifer out of the second class. She'll be your division champion.
Congratulations, your champion fall heifer calf, exhibited by Macy Weems, Eustis, Texas, with DKBF PCC Pride 207H. Second place in her class, exhibited by Rex Howard, Lattimore, North Carolina.
Out here for reserve, again, you have that second place out of that class. You like the stoutness, the boldness of body, and dimension she has. Just said I would like to change her to that front third. I also like this light red heifer that's younger in this division. She'll be reserved. Let's give this young man a hand.
And congratulations, reserve champion fall heifer calf comes out of class 6. Zachary Griffith, Marietta, Oklahoma, with 7KZG Harlow H807. Once again, congratulations to those exhibitors. We're now going to be selecting our bred and owned division champion reserves out of your fall heifer calf division. Following that selection, we'll look for class 8 late summer yearling heifers.
Well, as we get out here, just 2 entries here, and I tell you what, these little cowboys are doing a good job. Let's give them a round of applause, please. These summerborns, the young man comes in with this dark red heifer, and again, a heifer that has some good parts to her. We'll see how she fares, but I like the look she has from the side, the extension up through that front end, really smoothing her top line, and I think still adequate in terms of structural soundness. This heifer has some width. When you step in behind her, I'd be the first to tell you I just drop her down a little bit through that midrib and her flank. Young man's dark pigmented heifer there we have in second. You like the softness she has back there. In terms of her body, she's a heifer that's smoothing her top line and level there. She's a heavy boned heifer that has some flex. She gets a little plainer down through her chest, not quite as attractive there. One I'd like to see just a shot more real width as you step in. guys.
Well, congratulations in Class 8 in your junior Red Angus ring. We have the results of late summer yearling heifers. First place went to MF Emily 0891, exhibited by Leighton McMurphy of Canyon, Texas. And second place in that class will go to two-step Vidolia H208, exhibited by River Raymond of Austin, Arkansas. We're now going to bring in Class 9 summer yearling heifers. Now in ring 2, we'll be starting with your Texas Longhorn Bull Show, starting with Class 22, bulls born May through June. We'll be looking for 6 entries in this class.
over here in our Longhorn show as we begin our bull show, first class of bulls. Land on one here to win this first class that I certainly like in terms of his eye appeal. Just found him to be the most unique bull and probably one of the toughest ones to make. Really like the way whenever this calf gets put in park, I love his design. I think he's real modern about his look, real striking in terms of a profile. When you get behind him, he's got enough power to him. I'll grant to you he's not the most powerful bull in the class, but just in terms of one that has some flexibility when you get him on the move. I like the cleanness of sheath, turn to that rib shape, real smooth about that shoulder. Just a unique bull, one to, I think, certainly watch down the road, one that I think can be a breed changer for this breed. Just one I'd like to power up in this particular class, but he's also probably one of the youngest bulls in the class. Nice bull right there to start this bull show off. Bull lands in second, one that has a little more power than the bull in first. I'll grant that in terms of his middle today. Really big rib, bold and robust about that rib shape and good over his top. Just a bull, if I'm going to balance him up a little bit, like to make him a little bit deeper in his flank in relation to that front third. But just a good power bull. I appreciate this bull in particular on the move. You can really see the base width and power and muscle that this bull has. And second, young lady's doing a great job of getting him set up. The high-performing bull, high-frame bull comes in third. Really like the muscle and the meat that this bull has. With that being said, maybe doesn't put it together quite as smooth and as attractive as the two bulls ahead of him. I would like to strengthen his top up just a little bit. But I tell you what, if meat and muscle and pounds is your game, here's your man. He was the high-performing bull in that class. Just would like to maybe make him just a notch more attractive in terms of his build. But nonetheless, it's good breeding stock right there. Good bull there. And then we round out the class with a pair of bulls that I find very similar in terms of type and kind. The young man's bull is going to go ahead and beat the young lady's bull just in terms of having more performance today. If you're looking for style and eye appeal, you need to pretty up some of your females. These two guys right here are going to be your men. As we progress and go on down the line, as these young exhibitors continue to develop both these bulls, I think they'll be ones to watch, because I don't want to take anything away from the quality of these bulls, just not quite as much to them today. But nonetheless, in terms of having the basics these cattle do, I think with time and feed, they're going to fill out and look a little more powerful and have just a little bit more to them, not quite as much air underneath them as they continue to develop. Good set of bulls from top to bottom, real unique one to win the class. Congratulations to y'all.
Well, congratulations, and a good way to start our Texas Longhorn Bull Show. The results of Class 22. First place goes to back number 10,048, exhibited by George and Cindy Dennis. Second place to go to back number 10,050, exhibited by Danley Cattle Incorporated. Third place, also exhibited by Danley Cattle. Fourth place, exhibited by back number 1051, North Texas Cattle Group. And fifth place in that class will go to back number 10,046, exhibited by Clarice Francis. We're now going to bring in Class 23 in Ring 2, bulls born March through April.
Well, we get in this class, and I think particularly this top pair, obviously you can tell I thought study them quite a while, because I think there are parts and pieces about both of them I love, and parts about them I might change and tweak a little bit. For me, the young lady's heifer I go ahead and lead off with. Some places she excels. I think we get this one on the side view. Just a little more refinement and neatness about her head and her front end, the way she's handling her chest and lower shoulder and it comes into her body. I think that's a really long side one as well. It's good in terms of her hip. She's a heifer that with that still has some true arch out of her spine and spring through her rib cage. When she gets out and goes, you know, she maybe pulls her loin up just a tick there. I'd like to smooth her up a notch there, but I think that's an awfully nice heifer. Young man's dark red heifer I have in second. Love this one from her shoulder back. I like the bone work, the hip and hind leg, that body mass and shape she has. I think that's all awfully nice. I'd like to raise her chest floor up a little bit and neaten her up through that neck, but that is one from her shoulder back. You just love the cowiness she has, and again, I think her structure is awesome when she gets out and goes. Young in third. I think this one, when she gets her stopped on the profile and gets her pulled together, she's got a really nice look from the side. She's one that's smooth in terms of her top line. This one is pretty big centered, and I like that part about her. She comes to the meet, comes to the ground, maybe just a little frailer in her bone, not quite as flexible and reach as easy as those top two, but I think that is a good heifer there that has some balance and has some look to her. Young lady's heifer next in the lineup, one that I like for having some boldness right there in her center rib cage. She's extended through her front end. This one, when she gets out on the move, you can appreciate the soundness she has. I'd like to trim her a nickel there in her chest and smooth her up in that tail head. Young man's heifer coming around the corner now. I think a really stout built one. She's wide-based, bold-bodied, and thick-ended. And, man, that's maybe the best look I've got of her there. I think she is one that proportions out. She gets a little rounder in her shoulder and back through her hip. And that is a heifer I think has a lot of good as well. The heifer that wraps up the class, this is no slouch. This is a heifer that's big-ribbed and has a ton of mass there. You see her drop down there in her elbow, carries it all the way back through her flank. She is a heifer that to me has some levelness from the point of her shoulder back through her pins. But when you step in behind her, she wants to funnel a little bit from hooks to pins and to the ground. I'd stouten her up a notch there and just neaten her up in the way she ties her neck out of her shoulder. Then we have the wraps up the class. This is not a bad heifer at all either. Big-footed, big-boned. She is a heifer that maybe could just move out just a little better in her spine, wants to roll her hip. I change her up in the way she handles that shoulder and the way it lays in her body. Really good class of heifers there. Let's give those kids a hand.
Well, congratulations in Class 9 in our Junior Red Angus ring. First place will go to MHG Ivanka, exhibited by Morley Griffith, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Second place, exhibited by Baxter Aiden Blair of McLean. Third place will go to back number 40,659, exhibited by Olivia Gerloff of Bland, Missouri. Fourth place will go to Reese McMurphy of Alva, Oklahoma. Fifth place in that class, exhibited by Hunter Jones of Moundville, Missouri. Sixth place, exhibited by Danielle Brooks of Wilson, Oklahoma. And seventh place in that class, exhibited by Carly Jo Kleeman of Bramer, Missouri. We're now going to bring in your first and seconds here in Ring 1 to select your champion and reserve champion intermediate heifer.
Well, we get out here in this division, and again, some nice heifers here. The young man out of that youngest class does a nice job on the halter, and as I stated there, I think a heifer that has some look. Just like to see a little more center mass in her yet. And you get these two older heifers, I think both really good, and I thought there's give and take in those two cattle. We're going to keep them together for our division and reserve division champions. Let's give these kids a hand, please.
Well, congratulations. Your grand champion intermediate heifer is going to go to MHG Ivanka, exhibited by Morley Griffith, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Morley will also be your champion bred known in that division. Reserve is going to go to DKBF Priscilla, 415H, exhibited by Baxter Blair of McLean. We're now going to bring in Class 10 April Spring Yearling heifers.
Over here on the Longhorn side, we get into our second class of bulls, and again, I think I land on one that I certainly think is unique for his type and kind, and I think what makes him unique is if you're looking to power one up in terms from the ground up and give him some bone and just some overall mass, here's your man. When he first walked in, he hit me pretty hard, and he went ahead and just stayed at the top the entire time. I like the look this bull gives you. He's very adequate in terms of his muscle and base width when you get behind him. certainly fresh in his condition when this young lady gets him set up. Certainly like that silhouette and look that he gives, one that's going to be interesting to watch develop. Obviously, this morning's not favorable for testicular development, but young man's showing some promise there in that department. Just a good overall bull. I like the look, and very clean in terms of his sheath. So clean it may throw his balance off just a tick, but certainly a nice bull to land there, one that I liked early on, and he just stayed at the top of my list. Young lady does a great job of getting that bull exhibited. Bull in second here, just long and lean, maybe a little more tubular made, but if you don't study this bull, you're going to miss him, because you get behind him, although he gets a little choppy in that flank, you get behind him, probably packs as much meat and muscle as any calf in this class. Certainly like the eye appeal and his hide color, very unique in that regard. Striking individual there. Just one I'd like to loosen up just a little bit in his flank, maybe stouten him up in his bone, but real smooth about the way that bull's made. A little bit rounder in terms of his muscle shape, but if you got one that you certainly need to give some power to, there's your man. I like the muscle and base width that he's got. Here's another good, powerful bull here in third, one that I just would like to see him just a little more confident in terms of the way he gets off on the back, too. Just a little hesitant today, giving a little bit of trouble on halter, but not taking anything away from a certainly good one there. Like the calf in second, a little tubular in terms of the way he's made, but I tell you what, if you study that calf from end to end, there's a lot of meat and muscle, and you got to study him closely, because his eye appeal gives an image that he breaks just a notch in his top, and he might, but once he settles in and settles down and gives you a look, there's a lot of good in that bull calf there. This one here kind of hit me and struck me, one I had to study a little extra harder, because I think there's a lot of good pieces to this bull. Obviously, he's the most unique in terms of his color pattern, bringing a silver package to us, but I really appreciate this bull on the side profile. Today, he just doesn't have enough when you get behind him and study him in his base width. But young man, as you continue to pour the feedback to that one and he develops, you got an interesting prospect there that I think has some good attributes and some unique features for the breed. Then the young man brings us another bull calf here on the bottom end that gets a little rounder in terms of his muscle shape, much like the bull in second. Just not as much to him in comparison as the bulls in front of him. He wanted to fight him just a tick today on halter, that challenge, but as the young man gets him put together there, you can see a lot of good in this bull calf too. I love the strength of the top. Just needed to see a little bit more of him in this particular class today. He just gave up a little bit of stoutness of structure, but as this bull calf develops, I think he's got enough function, enough look to be an asset to this young man's breeding program. Congratulations on a fine set of bulls from top to bottom.
Well, congratulations. In ring 2, we have the results of Class 23, bulls born March through April. First place goes back number 10,052, exhibited by Ryan and Devin Culpepper. Second place goes back number 10,055, Walker Hance. Third place in that class, exhibited by back number 10,053, Randy and Catherine Morris. Fourth place, exhibited by 10,054, Cade Nolan. And fifth place in that class will go to back number 10,056, Denise and Jody Sepulvedo. We're now going to bring in Class 24, bulls born January through February.
Well, as we get out here in this class, two really nice heifers here at the top end, and I think both awfully good. On the stand, I might swap them when they get out and move. I think there is a distinct advantage in the young man's heifer leads off the class. She's more correct in the angle and use to her knee and shoulder up through her front end. This heifer is just one for me, sounder, moving in the way she goes off both ends. She even maybe flexes a little better on her back too. As we look at her, she's one that's pretty fresh in terms of condition. She's one you step in behind her. There's some genuine width to this heifer. She's not maybe as smooth over her top line as this heifer in second, and that's on the stand. I really like the neatness of profile in her. I think she has a tremendous look. You love the mass and the body shape she has, just tremendous there. But with that, you study this one even on the stand, you can see she's just a little more upright in her shoulder and knee, wants to shuffle a little bit on those back too. I just like to free her up on the go. If we do that, it's no contest. She wins, but out here, that's a changer. Young man's heifer we have in third. This is a good heifer. She profiles with the best of them. She's one that to me is hard to draw, femininity, level of lines and progression in rib like she has from the side. I like all those parts about her. I would like to see her wider chested, bolder sprung, just a little more dimension as you step in behind this one, but I do like that neatness of look, the attractiveness she has on the profile. Young lady's heifer coming out next. I think there's a heifer that's sound, structured, and easy moving. I think she does that awfully well. Just a notch plainer in her overall build and ran into three really nice heifers here as we get into some of these older cattle. Let's give them a hand.
Well, congratulations in Class 10 April Spring Yearling Heifers. First place will go to EGL Dream Girl 0077, exhibited by Brett Pembroke, Fairview, Oklahoma. Second place will go to TC Ellie, age 33, exhibited by Tucker Beyer of Ringgold, Wisconsin. Third place, exhibited by Cade McCracken, Alva, Oklahoma. And fourth place, exhibited by Katie Hazemer of McLeod, Oklahoma. Now going to bring in Class 11 March Spring Yearling Heifers.
Over here on our Longhorn side, tough pair for me to sort here at the top. I guess two individuals that you probably couldn't get built much different. I chose to go ahead and stay with the young lady's bull here in first. One that right when he walked in, the three-quarter angle shot I got of him, obviously just probably one of the most bold and robust centers we've seen all day. And I think for me, I just hung my hat on that in terms of a piece of a puzzle that this bull can certainly use to improve the breed. Now, I'll be the first to grant I would like to trim him up in his condition, but still, I think enough of that center portion is natural muscling and thickness, and certainly appreciate that about this bull when you get behind him from end to end. Just a bull that offers a lot of meat, a lot of muscle, a lot of stoutness. One that if you're going to go looking for one to do that for you in a female, I think he's your man. Just would like to trim him up, especially in regard to that brisket. But young lady does a great job of getting him set up there. Certainly like his clean sheath and good prep use open on that bull right there. Bull in second's good stock. I certainly like him, and I tell you what, if he had a shot more middle to him, I think he might have taken that bull there in second. But I appreciate the lean condition that he's in. And with that lean condition, still has plenty of natural muscle and thickness when you get behind him. Really long spine bull. And with that length of spine, he still stays strong over that top. Real smooth about the way he carries that, in particular up in his shoulder. Very eye appealing in terms of his height. Good horn development on this calf. Just a good overall calf. Would just like to see a tick more of him in terms of depth of body and depth of flank, and maybe stout him up just a tick from his bone work. But that's a good individual right there, certainly one to watch. Then in our bottom pair, a couple of bulls there that also different in terms of type and kind. I chose to go with a deeper bodied, stronger spine bull, a bull that I see a lot of future in. He's just green in his condition today. If I could take some of that condition off the bull in first and put it on him, he could have made things really interesting in that top pair. Really like how fresh he is, like the extension, the smoothness in that front third. Got some bone for all that attractiveness that he has. He's still got some bone and some muscle. I think as he develops there with more time on feed, he's going to be an interesting one to watch. Just today, I wish there was more of him in particular in that midsection. Bull that rounds out the class, really long bull, but with that length, he wants to get just a notch weaker in that spine and a little more restricted when you put him on the move. But when that young lady gets him set up, still a lot of good in this bull, tremendous testicular development and eye appealing in that hide. Good class of bulls from top to bottom, very interesting pair on the top. Congratulations to these Longhorn exhibitors.
Well, congratulations. In ring 2, we have the results of Class 24. First place goes to back number 1057, Danley Cattle Incorporated. Second place in that class, exhibited by Denise and Jody Sepulvedo. Third place, exhibited by back number 10,060, Robertson Cattle Company. And fourth place, exhibited by back number 10,059, Tessa Trenzano. We're now going to bring in your first and seconds. We'll be selecting your Grand Reserve Junior Bull.
Well, as we get out in this class, really nice trio of heifers here. Really 4 or 5 heifers in this class are good in my mind. For me, the dark red heifer lead off with, you know, I think you study this one. I think there is just a shot more real width to her, but we get her stopped on the profile, and I think this one gives you a nice balanced look. Everything kind of fits together as it should. Like I said, this heifer has some genuine width to her. She stands that way. You read her on up. Has some spring through that center body and dimension as you get them behind her. And again, that nice look from the side. When she gets on the go, I think she steps her track just fine. You know, maybe drops her pins just a tick, but honestly, just as far as flex and reach, she does that just fine. The young lady's heifer in second, I think she gets here over 3 because I think she is a little fresher in terms of her condition and her look. This one balances awfully well. Got a really nice look from the side. I like the smoothness she has, the depth of side. This one maybe just don't have quite as much dimension as that one down low we start off with, but I think that's a solid kind of a heifer there. When you see that one get out and you see the quality in her, you can really appreciate that. about her on the side view. The heifer in third, I love some parts about her. I think she's extremely flexible in her structure and good-footed, probably as good as any in the class. I think this is a heifer that's level in her top line and bow-bodied. We just maybe got her a little overcooked in terms of condition. I'd like to trim her up through that brisket and around her pones there, but I think that is a good heifer with a lot of breeding value. The light red heifer in fourth, I don't want to take anything away from her. There's parts about her you like. I mean, she's a neat-headed and necked one there. She's bold. She's big in terms of her rib cage. I like those parts. I wish she had a shot more bone just to match up with all that mass through her center body and give her maybe just a little more dimension down low. But again, a lot of presence. You got her extremely fresh in condition. That's hard to do, and you've done an excellent job with the feed bucket there. I just wish I could stouten up her base a little bit. The dark red heifer coming out next, another heifer you can appreciate on the stand. I think this one has some quality and profile to her. When she gets out on the go, maybe you could just reach a little bit better out of that shoulder and front knee, one that you'd change her up a notch there and give her a shot more width as you step in behind her. The young man's heifer coming around the corner now. This is no slouch. This is another heifer that's pretty long strided and big-footed. I like those parts about her. I like the fact she has some springer rib. I would like to drop her down through that mid-rib and back through her flank just to give her that overall presence and maternal look from the side, but I think a nice heifer as well. Then the young lady's heifer that wraps up the class. This is a heifer that sure has some heaviness of structure to her. She has some dimension, just a little rougher in her overall balance and look, a little deep up through that chest. Not quite as neat in the way she handles that hip and hind leg.
Over here in our Longhorn Bull Show, we're got our first division of bulls in the ring, and I'll tell you what, quality certainly hasn't stepped off from a female show, because I think we got 6 individuals that are unique in their own right, and as prospective sires certainly have a lot of good traits to offer the breed and improve on the breed, just depending on where you want to lay your emphasis. I think there's something for everybody in that first division of calves, and I'm certainly satisfied with the 6 bulls that we land on. We're going to start with the young cowboy up here in the front. He walked in, and as I said earlier today, you never have a second chance to make a first impression, and this bull hit me pretty hard when he walked into class, and that was a fairly big class, and he stood the competition. Young man was having a little trouble with him on the halter, but thankfully he got going walking, because that's where I admire this bull possibly the most. Just a smooth traveling bull, and just probably one of the most unique in terms of his profile. Really like the way this bull balances out. Really just a neat bull, just very striking and eye-appealing bull. Love that how long and strong he is over that top, and just a cool customer right here in the gunner bull that this cowboy has. If I'm going to get nitpicky on him in this lineup, he's wanting to show just a tick extra shoulder, but you got to study that pretty close. With that shoulder comes some power and just some stoutness of structure. Just certainly a sire to watch, and I think one that could be a go-to bull down the road. Young lady brings us a bull named Moore here out of the second division, and that's certainly what you get with him. Maybe not the flash that we see in terms of presentation of the bull there, but nonetheless, he comes to us in good condition. Certainly like the strength of spine in this bull, the muscle expression that you get from the profile and you get behind him. He doesn't disappoint. Just as stout in terms of his foot and bonework as any bull in this lineup. Certainly like how clean he is in his sheath. Just another good-looking, very useful bull there. And like I said, properly named right there. She tells me that goes back to the grandfather, the Moore name. Certainly like that bull a lot too. Good duo there to start off with. Then the bull that comes out of our last class, one that I called unique in terms of pieces of the puzzle. Just from, you study this bull from the top of his top line there down to his belly. To talk about just a lot of power and capacity in this bull. And one thing that I question myself on is how much of that power and capacity is natural, because I would like to trim him up in his condition. But nonetheless, I think a trio of bulls that has a lot to offer, and no doubt this bull has a lot to offer in terms of the power and center portion and just the overall width that this bull has in base. Good trio of bulls. It's going to be a tough pick for me, because I like a lot of things about him. I'll go get you a Division I champion, then we'll bring that second in that respective class to compete for reserve. But if you would, let's give these Longhorn breeders a round of applause for securing the breed's future with these good prospects.
Well, we get out in this division, and I think, again, four really, really elite type of heifers in my mind out here in this particular group, and I think there's some give and take in the cattle. The young man's younger heifer, you love her in terms of just one that's big in her rib cage. You like that softness she has in her heart and the way she carries it through her midrib. I think she's a heifer that's sure sound enough on her feet and legs. We get her on the profile when she relaxes. She proportions and balances pretty good, but probably doesn't tie together quite as neatly right there in terms of the base of her chest and maybe back through her tail head as well as some. But that's being picky on one I think is awfully good and one that packs some genuine width to her. Young lady's darker red heifer out of that older class, you know, that's one that to me has some presence about her. I mean, she throws her head up. You like the way she ties out of her shoulder, comes smooth in her top line. That heifer has some thickness. She's one that, to me, too, has some good to her, and there's give and take in these two cattle. I think they're both awfully nice. The seconds out of those classes, I think, are also certainly quality cattle. Just maybe these two that win their class hit me a little better today, and I think it's awfully close. If you would, I'm going to let her get her around and then set them up and take one more look, but let's give these kids a round of applause on a competitive division.
Over here on the Longhorn side, we bring second place out of that respective first class, and a bull that, again, a lot to offer the breed just in terms of base width and muscle and rib. Really like that about that calf from the side profile. Just a really long-made bull, long-spined with that length, maybe not quite the depth of flank as some of the other bulls in the lineup, but just a good and useful bull for that young man right there. It gets pretty close for me, but I think there was two bulls in class, as I mentioned before, just from a first impression, struck me pretty hard, and I just kept my eyes on them. I'll go show you your Reserve Division II champion, but a good set of bulls to start off our bull show here on the Longhorn side.
Well, congratulations in our first division of Longhorn Bulls. Your champion will go to back number 10,048, exhibited by George and Cindy Dennis. Reserve champion in that division will go to back number 10,052, exhibited by Ryan and Devin Culpepper. We're now going to bring in Class 28, bulls born May through August. And congratulations over in your junior Red Angus ring. We have the results of your intermediate heifer division. Champion senior intermediate heifer coming out of class 11, exhibited by Hadley Hartman, Tecumseh, Nebraska, with MS prom date 058H, and reserve champion in that division, exhibited by Brett Pembroke, Fairview, Oklahoma, with EGL Dream Girl 0077. Champion bred known in that division is going to go to TCLEH 33, exhibited by Tucker Beyer, Ringgold, Wisconsin. We're now bringing in Ring 1, Class 12, February junior yearling heifers.
As we continue our Longhorn Bull Show, we get into our second division here. Just a single entry in this class, but one that I think could certainly withstand some competition. Very smooth-made bull and from end to end, in particular in that shoulder. Long spine bull, stays pretty strong and right there in the center portion of his top. I would just like to strengthen him up in his hip, but I tell you what, you watch this bull out on the move. Very sound, has a good presence about him in terms of his presentation, very fresh in terms of his condition. Just a good, useful bull right here. Congratulations to this young lady. I'm looking forward to seeing how he stacks up in our championship drive for this division. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations. In Ring 2, we have the results of Class 28, bulls born May through August. First place was exhibited by back number 10,061, exhibited by Randy and Catherine Morris. We'll now look for Class 29, bulls born January through April. We'd like to remind all of our exhibitors and spectators, new this year we have the Loft Bar, which is located above the Jim Norick Arena sign directly opposite of the announcer booth. So if you're interested in having a drink and sitting up there and watching the show, we encourage you to head on up to the Loft. You do not need to be a member in order to have a drink up there. We also have the Cattleman's Bar located in Barn 3.
Well, you get out in here in this class, and it's certainly interesting. I'm going to tell you what I see in the cattle, and you don't have to agree with me, and that's fine. I think there's that kind of quality all the way through, but I'll tell you what I see and what I like. For me, the young lady's heifer that wins the class, this is the one when you stand back from the side, just looks like a female. I mean, she's one that's really feminine about her head and comes back, good neck, shoulder fits into her body. She transitions from her shoulder and her forerib like she should. She has that drop in her heart and carries it back good through her midrib and back through her flank. Just extremely smooth and good looking from the side. One, you step in behind her, and I think there is a shot more real width in terms of her pins than the heifer in second. I think she puts a lot of good there when you look at overall quality and presence. Young lady's heifer in second, she got there because I think this one's just carrier built than the one in third. She's better in her heart. She's better through her midrib. This one flexes and reaches off both ends extremely well. I love those parts about her, and don't take anything away from the fact we get her to the side. This one's still long and extended. She does have a little bit of chest in her, and I'd trim that out of her. I'd tell you right now, that's where I'd like to change her, but I like that extra softness she has through her center body and the flex on the go. Young lady's heifer in third, probably as intriguing as any. I mean, she's freaky. She's one that's so clean-necked and so wide-based and bold-made. You're like, holy cow, look at these pieces. But I think with that, it does maybe take away from just her having enough softness for me back through her flank. I would like to see her flex and reach a little better out of her hock, particularly in her knee. But that is one that I think has some cool pieces. I'd just like to see her a little carrier in her kind. The red heifer we have in fourth, a big rib, big centered one here, one that's level from the point of her shoulders back. This is a good heifer. She balances up with them as well. She is one starting to lay on a little more brisket there. You'd like to trim that out of her and up around her pone, but she is an extremely high quality heifer here that just run in here with a bunch of good ones. She's awfully nice though. Young lady's heifer coming out next, another one that is just a extremely long-sided heifer, one that's sure flexible enough in the way she goes. She's big in terms of her rib cage, but she's got so much it's kind of taken away from her top line today. She's wanting to break in there behind her shoulder and get a little easy there in her top line. I would like to see her just have a little more genuine width as you step in behind her. Young lady's heifer around the corner now, a real moderate-sized heifer that's bold-bodied, a heifer that has some bone to her as well. Just maybe gets out massed out here today. One you'd like to smooth her up just a nickel in her shoulder and hock. Then we have the heifer that wraps up the class that I love for her stoutness. She's big-footed and big bone, a lot of dimension and boldness through her center rib. Just gets a little waistier up through her front end, not quite as refined through that front third. One you'd like to smooth her up a little bit and clean her up in that hock. Really interesting class, excellent set of heifers. Let's give these kids a round of applause.
Over here in our Longhorn Bull Show, we got a set of 5 bulls here in this particular class that are all unique in their own right. I chose to land on this bull here just simply due to the extra shot of power that I think he has. Granted, a little bit of sheath comes with that, and a little wider prepuce opening that I prefer, but you get past that in this bull. I really like the balance and the look that this calf has. A lot of muscle, a lot of meat, natural product to this calf. I like how deep he is in terms of his center portion, very robust in terms of his rib shape, puts that together with a long extended front third. Young lady does a great job of getting this bull set up. Got that head up high and proud. Certainly appreciate the horn set and the eye appeal in terms of the hide on this bull. Just a good, useful bull, and where I think he excels the class is good in his frame score and just a touch more power in that bull in relation to everything else in the class. Really like this bull in second. Right when he walked in, appreciate the center portion that this bull has. There's a lot of meat. There's a lot of muscle. He's the most moderate bull in the class, and just really a bull that I found to be extremely useful. I was just with all that natural product, particular in that center section, I'd like to just give him a shot more bone and make him a notch more confident when we get that bull on the move. But I tell you what, one that's unique in terms of his hide, a good horn growth, and I appreciate all the red meat and natural product that bull has. Bull in third, much like our bull in second, one that I find a lot of natural product in, just a little bit rounder in terms of his rib shape or muscle shape rather, and then one that just gets a touch more frame, but just another good complete bull. I found that trio of bulls to be awfully competitive, unique in terms of his hide. A bull that I just like to dial down just a notch in his frame, and he won't appear just quite as leggy, but if you're looking to put some size on one, there's a really good complete bull right there. Just ran into a couple really nice bulls there at the top. Bull in fourth, one that is awfully unique. Had my eye throughout the class. Obviously, probably the largest frame bull there, and I would like to touch him down and make him more moderate. You get past that, there's a lot of good in this bull. Long, strong spine, very attractive in terms of his build. Just a bull I'd also like to make just a notch looser there in his flank and when you get him on the move. But I'll tell you what, if you're looking for presence and eye appeal and to add some performance, here's your man. There's just a really unique bull there. Just one that I want to power up just a little bit in that flank and get him off those rear two just a little bit better. This bull rounding out the class is a great bull. I like a lot of things about him just until we get in that rear third and that hip. Just a bull I'd like to power up there, give him a little more base width up there in his pin set, but a good bull nonetheless, one that's got a lot of useful traits to him and one that you can utilize in any program, I'd imagine, just due to its overall totality other than just give him just a shot of power up in that rear third. Nice set of bulls from top to bottom. Congratulations to these Longhorn exhibitors.
Well, congratulations. In Class 29, bulls born January through April. First place in that class to go to back number 10,065 to Parle Cattle Company. Second place goes to back number 10,062, the Cattle Rack Ranch. Third place goes to back number 10,066, Scherer Family Longhorns. Fourth place in that class, exhibited by Steve Bodie and Chad Quarry. And fifth place to go to back number 10,064, exhibited by Scherer Family Longhorns. Now going to bring in your first and seconds and select a champion reserve senior bull. Back over in the junior Red Angus ring, we have the results of Class 12 February junior yearling heifers. First place was exhibited by Riley Morris of Ash Grove, Missouri. Second place in that class exhibited by Shyla Sankic of Magnolia, Ohio. Third place went to Hadley Hartman, Tecumseh, Nebraska. Fourth place exhibited by Jens Lind of Rushford, Minnesota. Fifth place in that class exhibited by back number 40,690. Sixth place exhibited by back number 40,685. And seventh exhibited by back number 40,696. Currently in ring one, we have Class 13 January junior yearling heifers. After this class, we'll select champion reserve junior heifer.
I think we get out in this class of Januaries, and again, quality all the way through. And to me, these top two cattle and top three, really nice. Young man's heifer we lead off with. Where she really excels, I think this one just so smooth made in her neck, transitioning in her shoulder, comes into a big old rib cage, really big in her heart, and carries it back well. She's sound and flexible as she goes. She's not showing maybe quite as much udder as the heifer in second, but I think that's an awfully nice heifer there. They're really smooth in their makeup. Young man's heifer in second looks like she is one that's starting to show a little more. Going to have a nice bag when it's all said and done in terms of teat size and placement. I like that heifer for having some natural spring of rib and dimension to her. A little rougher back through her tail head, not quite as neat in the way she hooks her shoulder into her body. Young man's heifer we have coming in third. She's probably as just naturally wide from pin to pin as any. I like that width she has in terms of her thickness there. With that, she's still pretty clean-necked. You might just like to see her just a nickel softer there in terms of her heart, the way she carries that through her body, but an awfully nice heifer there, and he does a nice job on the halter. Young man's heifer that wraps up the class, not a bad heifer. A heifer here that has some levelness in her lines, takes a long enough stride, just simply gets overpowered to an awfully good top trio of females in this particular class.
Over here in our Longhorn Bull Show, we're in our senior drive. We got a trio of bulls out here that certainly represent the breed very well and offer the breed a lot of good things in my opinion. And the bull that leads off the first class, he was a single entry and one that I thought could withstand some competition, and we get him out here. He's certainly unique in this lineup. Just a bull that's a what you see, what you get kind of bull. A little tighter made in terms of his design, but with that tightness, you can see all the natural red meat in that bull. He gets a little rounder in his muscle pattern. A lot of rib shape in this bull, a little extra shoulder, but I love the length of spine in this bull. One in class that we would like to just strengthen him up just a bit in that hip. But there's a lot of good in this bull. He's very smooth made, other than that, just getting a little more expression in shoulder, but you got to have an engine to pull that caboose. There's a lot of good red meat and got doability in this bull here coming out of the first class. Then the bull that won the tough class of 5 bulls that we just judged, a bull that made a little bit differently than the bull ahead of him. I breed this bull to be a lot looser in terms of his build and that flank. With that, like we mentioned, like to clean up that sheath and prepuce opening just a bit. But nonetheless, I certainly appreciate this bull for having just a touch more of everything. Just a little bit more substance of foot and bone to this bull. Good look. Young lady does a great job of getting him presented up on the profile. A lot of just eye appeal and good doability. This bull, I like his depth of body. A lot of good look to this bull. I'll go ahead and get you a division winner. We'll bring in that second place. Congratulations to these bull exhibitors here in our Longhorn show. Gets a little tighter for me here for reserve division. The bull that was second in that respective class, bull, very moderate, lot of muscle, meat and muscle when you get behind this bull, a natural base width. Really like both these individuals. It just depends on where your emphasis lies and what you need for this program. I'm going to just take a quick look at them and we'll get you a reserve division.
Well, congratulations over here in Ring 2, your champion senior bull, exhibited by Chaparral Cattle Company with back number 10,065.
Well, as we get out here in this division of the Red Angus Junior Show, just been and we still got cattle yet to go. Tremendous show all day long. They brought me good cattle in every class and every division. We get out here and it kind of, same song, second verse, high quality ones. There's one of these heifers just hit me really hard for all the pluses she put together. Young lady out of the youngest class is going to be our division champion. Let's give her a hand.
Well, congratulations, your champion junior heifer over in the junior Red Angus ring is going to go to Riley Morris of Ashgrove, Missouri. Second place out of Riley's class, exhibited by back number 40,684.
We'll get into our grand champion bull drive here in our Longhorn show, and in a lot of cases, the quality sometimes in the numbers maybe drops off just a notch when we get into our bulls. But I've got to commend you, Longhorn breeders and enthusiasts, for putting a great set of bulls together in keeping with the quality that we've seen throughout the day. Truly an impressive set of cattle, and I want to commend you on the job that you all are doing as cattlemen to bring cattle that are sound, they're functional, they're good looking, yet still have some unique pieces that'll catch your eye in terms of bringing them up here to the ring. I've talked ringside some with some of these individuals helping me. I want to give or commend them and thank them for coming out and helping us. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to do it. But we just talked about staying true to what you're doing, staying true to the breed and staying true to put you on the map, and got you right here on this grand stage at the Cattlemen's Congress. I want to commend those behind the Congress for coming together last year and creating an event in our region of this magnitude. Certainly well run and historic scene that we have here, and I'm sure glad and proud to be a part of it. Growing up in this industry and given the opportunity, regardless of what day it is, whether it be New Year's Eve, to come out and do what we love, and certainly appreciate Cattlemen's Congress and the Longhorn breed for having me out to do this. As far as the bulls go, two unique individuals, I think, to choose from. This calf is unique. I certainly like a lot of things about him. I think he might be the youngest bull in the show, but with that, I think he's adequate in terms of everything that he brings to the table as far as muscling. What I like about this calf the most is right here on the profile. I see a lot of good in this calf. He's loose made. He's very attractive in terms of the way he carries that head, neck. Just a really unique calf, one that's going to be fun to watch grow as this young man develops this bull. here. Just a good individual. Then the bull that caught out of our last drive, a bull that I just had a touch more of everything, and I believe he does. Really appreciate the soundness of this bull. Like that shape that he has to that rear leg, that extra shot of bone. Granted, it comes with a little extra sheath and a little wider prepuce opening that I prefer, but a bull that's got good testicular development about him, just a good look. Very practical in terms of his frame size. I certainly like and appreciate that about him. So depending on where your emphasis lies, I think you've got 4 bulls out here that'll certainly help move the breed forward and one that you can utilize in your program with confidence. With that being said, I'll go ahead and put the mic down. We'll go get you a Grand and Reserve Champion bull. But once again, thank you for this opportunity. Cattlemen's Congress and to the Longhorn breed, certainly appreciate the opportunity to come out here and work with your breed.
Well, congratulations in your Longhorn ring. Your Grand Champion bull comes out of Class 29, exhibited by Chaparral Cattle Company with back number 10,065. And congratulations in your Longhorn ring, the Reserve Grand Champion bull coming out of your junior division. Back number 10,048, exhibited by George and Cindy Dennis. Once again, congratulations to all of our Texas Longhorn bull exhibitors. Back over here in the Red Angus ring, we have the results of your junior heifer division. Champion was exhibited by Riley Morris, and reserve champion in that division exhibited by Shayla Sankek. Your champion bred known in that division is going to go to Zachary Griffith of Marietta, Oklahoma. Now currently in ring 1, we have Class 14 winter yearling heifers.
Well, as we get out here in this particular class, it's also a division. You know, we've got these falls here, and young lady's heifer there, I should say, cow now. I'm not using her just because she's a pair. That's a good pair. You study this cow, you see quality in her, you see it about her front end, the way she comes in her body, has some genuine width. She's holding her own, and one that structurally I think is just fine, got a nice little functional udder, and she's done a good job transmitting her quality. This heifer calf at side, I think just really solid individuals. Young lady's heifer we have in second. This is a good heifer. I wish she was showing more udder. I think I would like her even better then, but I like the fact she's a big-bodied one. She's level in her line. She's being a total turd and not wanting to let her show, but if you really study this one, you can appreciate the balance in her. She does maybe one that you just free her up just a nickel on both ends as she goes. Young lady's dark red heifer we have coming around the corner now. One I like for her length of stride. She's a long-sided one that's very smooth in her makeup. I'd like to level her up in the way her udder's developing in her there and maybe just see a shot more width as you stand in behind her, but I do like her quality look from the side. Young man's heifer we have coming out next, another good heifer. This one's big-backed and thick-ended. She has some dimension to her, a little tighter spine, doesn't want to get out and stride out as much as she could. She's another one of those you'd like to see maybe just showing her a little more udder at this time, but a really good class of heifers there.
Attention exhibitors and spectators, we will be starting our Galvey Futurity here in Ring 2. If we could please get Ring 2 cleared out, we will be getting started here in just a few moments.